Awesome. We're all set to go. Yep. Cool. So this is The Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess. Any percent? Are we all real good on the admin side? We're all all good to go. Awesome. And we're going 3, 2, 1. The sub 3 is now. So yeah, this is, as I said, this is any percent. It's quite a long any percent, especially in terms of Zelda games. So hopefully we'll come in just over 3 hours. But we have a frame perfect trick to start off the run, which is always what everyone loves to see. So basically, we're going to take this rock down to the end of this path, hopefully clip through the gate, and then do a thing called back in time. So if you've ever seen Twilight Princess before, you'll see that in the title screen, you're on Bridge of Eldin with Epona, with all of your gear. That's lovely, love that. So yeah, you're on the Bridge of Eldin with Epona, and we're going to get that gear straight away. So I'm actually going to do the safe method here and unplug my controller, and then, yep, that looks good to me. And if all works well, we should be on the Bridge of Eldin. Perfect. That is the first kind of roadblock out the way. And if we jump off the edge here, we're actually just able to play around on the title screen if you want. There's no real reason to do it, so we'll actually just save the file and reset back. So basically, by doing that, we've skipped a lot of the early game, kind of the whole part of being kind of a farmer, going through the storyline a bit. And so when we respawn in here now, we should have our sword, we should have our shield, we should have our tunic. Yep, we are all good to go. So the first kind of part of this run is fairly similar to how you would see in a casual playthrough, in the way that we still have to go free Tallow from the cage. We still have to do the goats. If you've ever played this game before, you will know how much fun the goats are. But then it does progress quite quickly after that. I'll also just note that this is in German. It's very, very slightly faster. I know most games are not usually in German, but yeah, it's a tiny difference really. I think it's less than a second or thereabouts. So what we're going to do here is just roll through the cave. Nothing too interesting. This screen's actually way darker than the one I'm used to playing on, so it actually is difficult to see through it. So the early game in Twilight Princess, there's a fair amount of RNG involved, which can make the category quite difficult to start with. So within the first kind of 15 minutes or so, you'll come across 3 or 4 kind of big RNG parts, which are always really good fun to experience. So after we free Tallow from the cage down here, we're going to go straight into a round of goats, which is like a mini game within this. And then we get to go into our wrestling match with Bo, the Mayor of Ordon. So normally in a casual playthrough, you won't see Bo for quite a while, but because of how we've done back in time, we're actually able to get him within the first kind of 7 to 8 minutes of the run, so we can get the Iron Boots, because they become a key part of the run going forward. Yeah, as I said, this is quite a long category for an 80%. So I'm going to be doing what we call a Gorge Bombs route. So there's 2 key things when it comes to Twilight Princess routing. The first thing is kind of how do we get to Kakariko, because that's quite an important part of the run, and also whether or not we want to collect bombs. So in a Gorge Bombs route, what I'm going to do is I never collect the Zora armor. So we're going to use a glitch using water bombs to be able to refill my oxygen when underwater. So we'll see that in the Morfield fight and the Zant fight later on. And also I'll be doing a jump across Kakariko Gorge called Rupee Roll, which is also has a 1 frame, just over a minute trick involved in it. So we'll see how that goes when we get there. But as I said, just coming up here, we're going to free Tallow from the cage. So normally at this part of the run, in the casual playthrough, you only have a wooden sword, and you don't have your gear yet, so kind of a lot of the fights will be a bit quicker because we already have all of our stuff. So it's just going to be a little bit of a cutscene here. Most cutscenes within Twilight Princess are skippable, thankfully, but there will be a couple throughout the run, which we'll have to wait through. And unfortunately, I couldn't rename Link to be something else within this run. Within a 100% run, you can, but because we do back in time, we reset the game before we've ever actually saved it, so there's no way to change the name file. Just how it goes. So if we go over here and we get Epona, we'll start the goats minigame. I'll aim for less than 20 seconds, but the goats sometimes choose to do what they want. Yeah, look, we'll take the 24. I don't mind the 24 whatsoever. So now we're going to get into, as I said, the kind of the biggest RNG part at the start of this run with fighting Bo. So wrestling with Bo is basically a massive game of rock, paper, scissors. Bo will choose to do whatever Bo wants, and we just kind of have to hope that the cards fall our way. So I could go into the maths on, oh, it's better to do this move when, but realistically, it's just a massive game of rock, paper, scissors. We'll also note here that when we go in, there's a lot of text to mash through. Normally later in the run, this is a cutscene, but obviously because we've kind of jumped ahead a little bit, there's just a bunch of different text fields. So if we could get through Bo fairly unscathed, it'd be quite a good start to the run so far. All right, see how this goes. This is one of my worst parts of the run. I'm not a very good masher, but yeah, I will try my best. So I'm going to go for a slap and then try and push him off the edge. Alright, I'll take that. That's alright. So if you actually get a slap off on the start there, and you mash about 12 mashes per second, I believe, you can actually one cycle him straight off the edge. So I'll go for it again and see if I can mash a bit quicker. He is not liking us. Alright, not too bad, honestly. Could have been a lot worse. Second stage Bo's a lot harder than first stage Bo, just because of how the percentages line up. So now we've actually gotten the iron boots within the first 8 minutes of a run, whereas normally you would take, I know in a 100% run it takes over an hour to get them. So these become quite beneficial later on, especially when it comes to some of the harder tricks. There's not much going on for the next kind of minute or two, just kind of going through the storyline a little bit, if there's any donations or admin stuff or anything on that end.
Yeah, perfect. We have a $10 donation from Jen, who says, Teabag, you'll always be a Mario runner to me. There is no escape, but good luck with Zelda.
Appreciate that.
We also have $15 from Cornman, who says, cool to see my boy rocking the sticks. Teabag taught me the importance of an honest day's work. Screw cancer and keep up the good work.
Thank you, Corn. Appreciate it. So just while we have some downtime here, yeah, as that donation said, I used to speedrun Super Mario 64, so I did that for just over a year, a little bit. But I've been doing Twilight Princess now for 9 or 10 months, and they're very different games to speedrun. I've enjoyed Zelda quite a lot, but there's points in the run where it's like a sequence break, so it's either if you don't get the trick, it's very hard to progress through the run. So that was quite a difficult thing to learn. So at this point now, we're actually going to get access to Wolf Link. So the first time we see him throughout the run. Within the first 20-25 minutes or so, we're going to go and get the Master Sword. And what's important with that is that it gives us the Twilight Crystal, which will let us transform between Wolf Link and normal Link wherever we want. And that helps making a lot of different segments quicker. Normally in a casual playthrough, it takes quite a while to get the Master Sword, but in this we do a trick called Early Master Sword, unsurprisingly, which will help us out quite early on. So with back in time, just going back to that a little bit, so when we perform that trick, it actually locks us out of the day nights within Ordon Village. So normally what you do is when you start the game, you go through the first round of goats, and there's a lot of talking and helping people around the village and all these different bits and pieces. But because we do back in time, we actually have a sword and a shield already. And Midna will ask us to go into Ordon and get a sword and shield, but because of that, it soft locks the game. You actually can't go pick up the sword and the shield if you wanted to. So we're going to do a thing in about 5 minutes called sword and shield skip, which is a notorious trick in the run. It is quite difficult, and there's a bit of RNG to it. So we're going to take that's ideal. We're going to take this Bulblin, we call Hugo in the speedrunning community. And we're going to manipulate him into a spot where if you knock him into the air and then do a timed attack afterwards, you'll jump over the Midna cutscene and into Farn. So losing it loses you about a minute as a ballpark. So that's kind of the first bottleneck of the run that I would like to get through. So yeah, there's a bunch of different bits and pieces that go into the trick, but the key idea of it is that there's a cutscene trigger in the air, and there's a text trigger on the floor. So basically you want to touch the edge of the cutscene trigger before landing on the floor, and that'll let you in. But I'll explain that more when we get there. You'll also just note a little thing there, that when I jumped around the stairs, I was able to knock down the rocks off the stairs without landing in the water. That's just a small thing. It stops Midna from talking to you, and you can keep on with the run. Within this run, a lot of the time, when Midna talks to you, there'll be a 1-frame window between Midna finishing talking and you, between like a cutscene finishing and Midna starting to talk. So within that 1 frame, if you can press do an input, you can sometimes skip the cutscene, the text box. Didn't get that time. So this part is all fairly standard to the Let's Play, or a casual playthrough I should say. Yeah, it's all fairly standard. We're going to go across the rooftops, and this is where we first actually see Zelda in the run, and this kind of lays down the plot line for what this whole game is about. And then we will get on to Hugo, which will be, that'll be a moment of concentration. Got a nice first framer there. So one of those first framers just makes that a bit quicker. And hopefully the birds do not knock me down from this. Yeah, perfect. Cool. So just a little cutscene in. So that's Zelda there, for those of you who've never seen the game before. And we do just pop in and pop straight back out. We don't actually do anything with Zelda again until about halfway through the run. Just after the Morphil fight, we'll go back to Zelda. So this is where Sword and Shield skip will happen. So normally you spawn in the spring, and we go over. That was very bad. We go over to Ordon, and we'll go and get the sword and the shield. But here we're going to guide Hugo down this path across the bridge, just to the entrance to Farn. So I may go quiet here for a second, just when I'm actually pushing him around. We'll try and get some extra rupees here if we can, because we need to get 300 rupees by a certain point in the run. So kind of the more the merrier. Cool, so as I said, we're going to bring him across this bridge. That wall there that you can see in the distance, that is the entrance to Farn, and that's where we want to end up. So I may just go quiet for a second. I didn't expect that to work. Yeah, no, that was quite far away. That was my bad. We'll go for a backup. So the only backup here is to jump off the side of the bridge, unfortunately, and walk Hugo back down. If I get a second try, I'll be happy. But yeah, shouldn't have gone for that one. It can be quite an annoying trick because of what Hugo can do. So you need Hugo to stop in a certain spot and then swing at you. and basically he just swings randomly whenever he wants. So there's a lot of just nudging and pushing to make sure he's in the spot that you need him to. So I may just take my time a bit more on the second attempt and make sure I get it. I was quite far away on the last attempt. Bit of swinging. Don't like this angle. Nope. Nope. Alright, I'm gonna reset his angle. I think I've over pushed him a little bit. Okay, that's not ideal. Yeah, that's how this trick goes. I actually need to go. I think this is 3 hearts here, if I'm not mistaken. 1 heart. Yeah, this is this is kind of the first barrier. When I get past this, we'll be okay for a bit. I may get just a backup heart actually before I leave here. So what happened there was basically, even though I thought Hugo was in a good spot, and I thought I could jump forward and get him, I didn't actually let myself slide on the wall enough. So what happened was I just dove straight into him, had no chance to kind of knock him into the air. So hopefully third try is the charm. There we go. Got there in the end. So what you see there is that basically I've jumped over the text boxes that I was getting the last time, and now we're straight into Farron. So third try is not ideal, but you know we're past one of the big bottlenecks of the run, so that's good. So now what we're going to do that we're into Farron is that we actually don't need to clear Farron of Twilight. We can actually just run straight through it because we're going to do a thing later called Farron Escape, which I'll explain when we get to it. So what we can do now is we can actually run just the whole way through Farron over to a Shadow Beast arena. So these are our Shadow Beasts here, and we'll have an arena like this in a couple of minutes. And what I'm going to do is a thing called Early Master Sword, which is a super jump where you manipulate a Shadow Beast to stand in a certain way, and then when you do a charged midnight attack, you'll actually jump out of the arena, actually over to Sacred Grove. So we'll get to Sacred Grove within the first, well, like 18 minutes, give or take. So here Midna will give me my my charge attack. So I can just jump out like this. So we'll use that attack again in a couple of minutes to get out of the arena. So this trick has a little bit of RNG to it, and nothing too major. Basically, the Shadow Beast can do 2 different types of attacks. So it can do a fast attack or a slow attack. It's very, very difficult to do it with a fast attack. It is technically possible, but I've never seen anyone do it in a run. So we'll basically hope that we get a slow attack, and hopefully our position and our angle are correct. So we got like another minute or so if you got anything on the admin side of it.
Perfect. So I was just about to ask you. So we have a $15 donation from Jonathan saying, no matter what happens in the run, happy to see it's all for a great cause, and at the end of the day there will be a crisp bowl of cornflakes waiting for your king. Good luck. We also have a $5 donation from Anonymous. Go Teabag, $5 for world's hardest game, yellow color please. So as I said, just running straight through this. There's Twilight bugs the whole path as we're going through it.
but we actually don't need to bother with them. If you're doing a different kind of route, so not a gorge route, you're doing a thing called a bite route, you actually need to clear Farron, which loses you, I think, like just over a minute. So we'll see here a little cutscene which will show us where the 2 underground are, but we can go straight past them and straight into early Master Sword. So what I'm hoping for here is I'm hoping for the Shadow Beast to give me a slow swing when I'm in the correct position. So we go over here, come over. Actually, I had to kill him there because he was going to kill me. So that is unfortunate. So that there was a fast attack. So a Shadow Beast will do a heart of damage. So if I get bad RNG swings there, there's not too much I can do. I just need to kind of kill him and go again. There we go. So there we can see the swing was a little bit slower, and it gives me time just to get into position, and then if I pop down here, and here we're at Sacred Grove already. I'll take a bunch of those because they will be helpful later on. So that trick when I first started out actually took me quite a long period of time to figure out. Probably took me a couple of hours just to even hit it once, but when you get down, if you do get the proper RNG with it, it's not too bad. I had to concentrate a second because I nearly forgot what the Howling tune was. So going through Sacred Grove now, we basically just need to chase Skull Kid through, so we can end up by the Master Sword. There's nothing overly exciting in this part. We actually don't. So within this one, we actually don't do a bunch of the temples that you would see in a casual playthrough. So we never go near Temple of Time or Goron Mines, because the purpose of this game is that you want to collect all of the few shadows, and then you want to go and collect all of the mirror shards. So we actually only need to collect the last of both, because for whatever reason at the time they were making it, they thought no one would get the last one without getting the first 2. So we actually only need to go to, I think it's 4 dungeons or 5 dungeons all up, and even some of them we don't fully complete. So it's compulsory in runs that you have to do Lakebed Temple, so we will be seeing Morpheal at some point, and also you have to complete City in the Sky as well, because they have the last few Shadow and Mirror Shard. But yeah, there's no Goron Mines in this, there'll be no Temple of Time. We don't have to clear half of Forest Temple. We skip a fair amount in the run, but it's still, there's so many requirements in the run to finish it that it's still quite a lengthy any percent. Because we need to get a thing called Final Blow or Ending Blow, and basically that is a secret skill you get taught, and that is the only way you can kill Ganon at the end of the run. So we have to get that at some point. So we'll get that about an hour and a half into the run. So this part's all pretty straightforward, nothing too crazy in this part. We'll have the puzzle coming up, which if you've ever played this game casually, you'll know the puzzle can be quite a pain, but thankfully there is a set pattern that we can just do every time to make sure that we get it.
And did we have a set for a couple more donations?
Yeah, go for it, yeah.
Cool. So we have $10 from Says Chance, who says, "You're doing a great job and your hair looks nice. Saz and Pancake."
Thanks, Saz.
We also have $10 from Kakiri Emily, who says, "Surely no reset. Good luck, bro. Guaranteed PB." And one more. We have a follow-up from the Prince of None, donating 10 US, which comes out to about $14.89 Australian. Nice third try Sword and Shield skit. Sub 3 is still alive, right? This one goes to the incentive of Teabag's choice.
Oh, I have to look into that. Yeah, I meant to say at the start of the run that I was going to do what I saw another runner do at a different marathon. He did for every bonk they did throughout the run, he would donate $1 to the run, to the charity. So I may need to go back and try and keep track of how many, because I've lost count at this point. I'm sure it'll be. Oh, you go.
We can round it up to the nearest 100 if you want.
Yeah, look, I think that's great. I'd say it'd be somewhere in the 50s to 60s. There's a couple of compulsory bonks across the run, and then also just user error. Yeah, I may have to go back and give it a watch through. So I said this puzzle's pretty straightforward when you actually know what you have to do with it. I remember being a kid playing this through and spending 30 minutes trying to get them to line up. But it's all right when we actually get there at the end. And then once we get to the end of here, we'll access the Master Sword, and then a lot of the run gets going. Because as I said, that basically when you get the Master Sword, you'll also get the Twilight Crystal, and so we'll jump between being Wolf Link and Link quite a bit. And now we have about 45-second unskippable cutscene. But one of the best Master Sword cutscenes across Zeldas, in my opinion. Gotta make sure I'm not deafening people with drinking this. So that there's the Twilight Crystal, the orange and black thing sitting there. So we'll see when we have to clear Elden Twilight later on, and we'll also clear Lineru Twilight, so those are the two we have to clear as part of the run. We'll have to jump between being Wolf Link and Link quite a bit. And it wouldn't be a Zelda game without a lot of text mashing coming up. So I guess the main things that will come up throughout this run. There's the Morphil fight about an hour and a half in. That is quite important. If you fail that, it can lose you somewhere between 2 to 3 minutes. It's quite a complicated run. Quite a complicated fight. It actually puts a lot of people off running this route because there's a high level of RNG to it. If you've ever seen Morphil before, it's a giant eel that swims around a really deep room, and basically the pathing on it is completely RNG, and you just need to adapt to the RNG and pray a little bit. So hopefully I get nice RNG later on. So what we're going to do after this is we're going to go to Forest Temple. So I'm going to perform another back in time at Forest Temple. And actually what that's going to do is, if you've ever gone through Forest Temple casually, there is 4 monkeys that you need to free from cages, and the monkeys will let you get across a bridge. They make a chain you can swing across. But when we perform another back in time, we actually get all the monkeys straight away, so we don't need to clear 90% of the dungeon, and we actually just go straight to the mini boss and then we leave. So it's a quick in and out at Forest Temple. We go there to get the Gale Boomerang, which is basically the most exciting item that we get in the run. So with the boomerang, if you throw it either out of bounds or you throw it at a place higher than Link or over a void, and you do a jump attack, you actually get sent through the air at a very high speed, and it can help us clear gaps that just you wouldn't even consider as a casual player. So that becomes a key part of almost every part of this run. So we'll get that in about 5 or 10 minutes. And also, if you saw here last time, as I went around, I climbed up through the trees. I'm not too sure why. I just know it's a thing. You can use the lantern here to just run through the mist with a certain number of rolls each time. I'm not too sure why it works, but it does the job for us. So now as you can see, we've changed back into Human Link, and we're going through a part that you should only ever be Wolf Link at. And this will be for back in time. And we kill our friend that we used before, and those two as well. So after we get the boomerang, we're actually going to get into arguably the hardest split in the game, which is lovely to have 35 to 40 minutes through your run. So we're going into what we call the claw shot split. So basically it involves 3 different tricks. Each of them, failing them, loses a minute, and one of them is a frame perfect A press, 30 FPS, so like 0.3 of a second. So that'll be coming up after this, but I'll get more into that as we go. So what you see me do here is I'm going to turn around and jump through out of bounds. Yep, that looks good to me. So I've stopped it at a particular frame, and basically when I hit yes here, I'm going to trigger a soft reset, and if everything's gone well, we should be in the title screen. Perfect. And what we're actually going to do this time is I'm going to stop there, and we're going to hear Link scream. I'm going to load a different save file that I made previously just after Bo, and if I reset during this cutscene and spam the skip button, we'll actually have completed back in time. So basically, this is where it changed flags in the code. We get a thing called early boss flags, which helps you get to bosses early. And we'll use that later in the run as well to get to one of the mini bosses earlier on. But because we've gotten to this point and we don't have a slingshot, we actually need to use the Deku Babas to get us through this first little part. So we're going to get that one and break the cage. And so this is a little spider called Nancy. Nancy is fully RNG based and sometimes will look at you and sometimes won't. I'm hoping she won't look at me, so I'm going to climb up. Yeah, it looks good to me. And we should just be able to climb up. So basically, if Nancy is looking at you and you can't get up, you just have to go get the extra Deku Baba and throw like the rock at her. So a minor time save for us. Just light the 4 lanterns. And so if everything's going right so far, when I open this door here, we should have a bunch of monkeys spawn. Yep, there they all are. So that's helped us not need to clear the west side, don't need to clear the east side, and we can just go straight across into the mini boss. So they make a little chain. It's really important to not mistime the save press, even though it is super lenient. But if you mistime it and fall, you have to go do back in time again. So it's a pretty big time loss if you mess it up. So one more thing, then I think we can have some donations. Here we'll have Ook. So Ook does a random number of hops, a minimum of 2, but as I think the max someone's got is 25. So we'll kind of see how he goes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 6. A 6 isn't awful. And then because we have the Master Sword, we can actually just one cycle in there. But I'm happy for any donations or anything. It's like a 45-second cutscene.
Perfect. So we have $50 from Viperleap, who says, "Good luck, Teabag. Long time Twilight Princess Lurker. Been great to watch you grow. Great cause. Enjoy your time, all speedrunners involved in the event." We also have $20 from Bored Banana. "All under the blanket are cheering for you, Teabag. You're going to smash this run. Can we reach 9k by the end of the run? Put this towards the Metroid Dread boss rush run."
Awesome. And as I've said, we're gonna get the Gale Boomerang now. So we'll see this get used straight away. So when we get there, I'll run you through it. But what we can actually do here is we can just save warp. So save warping makes pretty self-explanatory. I just make a save file, and when you reset, you'll end up at the start of the dungeon. So that way we can now go over to Hyrule Field for the very difficult split. So the first thing we're going to do is what we talked about before, called Farron Escape. So because it's in Twilight, Midna doesn't want us to just walk out. She would like us to clear the Twilight before we can progress any further. But with a fairly accurate boomerang, we call them LJs, we're actually able to jump over the triggers and access Hyrule Field. So actually, because we never clear Farron, we actually never get to use Epona in the run, which is quite upsetting. But you get a user for goats, and that's about it. So what you'll see me do here is I'm going to intentionally walk into the Midna trigger, and then I'm gonna back out and line up my paw with a certain part of the grass, and then do 2 LJs back to back. So if I walk over to this corner here, Midna will talk to me, and then I'm going to line up my back right paw with this black square. That looks about right. And if I ESS on the spot, chuck on my boomerang, that looks good. Perfect. So now we never have to come back to Farron. So that is our Farron segment done now. So we have access to Hyrule Field. So what we're going to do here is, if you've ever played Twilight Princess, you'd be aware of the mailman. Fairly standard thing in Zelda games. So we're actually going to try our best to not talk to the mailman at all in the run. It only saves about 9 seconds all up each time you do it. But if I get to a certain spot on the wall, I should be able to boomerang jump past the mailman so he doesn't talk to me. Yep, perfect. So now we're going to get into two pretty difficult tricks back to back. So the first one is called Gorge Void. So this is the one frame perfect A press. So what we want to do is that when a cutscene finishes playing, we're going to want to hold L and press A and actually jump off the edge and void. And if we do that, we spawn back in here and can do a second trick. If we miss it, I'm actually going to have to go do a whole different part of the run and come back. But we'll see if I can get the frame. Thankfully, it is the same frame every time you play, so there's no external factors on it. But it'll be just after the messengers down here. So we can skip through the sword. And so there'll be a portal that'll spawn because we've killed these guys. And as that portal comes down on the cutscene, I'm going to try and press A. So it's during this cutscene here. Yeah, no, I was early. So basically, if we hit that there, you jump off into that void, and you'll respawn here. But because of this, I'm actually going to have to go and clear the Nehru side first. So I did lie. We're back to Farron again to do another Farron escape, and then we're going to go to the other side of Hyrule Field. Happy for any admin stuff. I'm just going to be running across the field for a minute.
No worries. So we got two $13 donations from Christo, one saying here for 9k and the other saying 9k higher. So we did cross over that $9,000 threshold. And a quick reminder that we have the Final Fantasy VII Cloud's Name incentive coming up after this run. So far, Name is still ahead on $127, so if you want to change that, then we're running out of time to do so.
Cool, so what we're going to actually do this time is we're going to go to the west side of Hyrule Field, and we're going to be going into Lakebed Temple. So in a casual playthrough, you need to get the Zora armor to go down into Lakebed. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a trick called Pillar Club. So what it is it looks it's quite an annoying trick. It looks very precise. So I'm going to sink down using my iron boots and pull call Midna at a very particular point. And if everything goes okay, I should clip in behind the pillar through the wall. And if not, I'm going to drown and have to give it another go. But we'll pop through this gate first. That's a bit of an extreme angle, but hopefully it works. Yeah, perfect. Gates are very optional in this game. So if we change here, you're going to realize there's a bunch of green screen around the place. Looks a bit weird. So what we're going to do is we're just going to hop off the side of the bridge, and now we're going to get into Pillar Clip. So this is, in my opinion, it's one of the hardest tricks in the run. People may beg to differ. So what we're going to do is going to go swimming over here, and after this text box, you'll see that there is a pillar. I should be able to point it out to you. Just this second one in a straight line for me. So what I'm going to try and do is I'm going to try and clip through the top of that, and then tap, swim, and hopefully make it through. that does not work. No. Gonna have to drown, give it another go. It's quite particular in where you need to pull Midna. So if you pull it too far to the left, you're going to end up out in Lake Halia. And if you pull too far to the right, you're going to get stuck in the pillar like I did there, and you're not actually going to be able to clip through it. So you want to ride on just the edge of the pillar where it is. So we'll go give it another crack. But as I said, in my opinion, this is the hardest trick in the run, so I'd be happy to see the back of it. So just got to come out from a different angle. About here should be good. That should work. I nearly drowned. So as you can see there, if we're tapping the iron boots, we can actually get through. And it's fairly tight on the oxygen meter. But thankfully, I'm happy to take second try on that, I'm not going to lie. So now what we're going to do is we're going to do our first of 2 stops into lake bed. So we're going to go in and we're going to get the claw shot, which we're going to need for a lot of the run, and then we'll come back later on for the Morpheal fight. So just need to pull this little trigger here. And I guess here will be kind of the clearest way to see how the boomerang LJs work, as you'll see me jump across to this first stage. So after this text plays, I'm gonna do a jump where the floor is higher than Link's feet, and that will allow me to kind of soar through the air over to there. So if I do a bounce, that looks good. Wait. Works for me. Perfect. So when we're going through lake bed here, we're actually going to pick up Uku. Because we don't actually ever want to have to re-enter lake bed through pillar clip, we're going to use Uku to enter and exit as we need. So we just need to do a little bit of playing around with the stairs, and then we should be on our way. So it's not this one here; it'll be this one here. So we'll turn these stairs around, and actually, we're going to need these stairs later on for a boss key skip on lake bed. And the stairs actually aren't symmetrical if you turn them the other way. So based on the direction of the stairs, you actually have to respond to it in a different way. I will get rid of you just because you can ruin parts of my run. And we will get the man chicken. Here he is. And then if we do a bit of a jump. Awesome. So now we're going to go over to the Deku Toad fight, which is the mini boss of lake bed. Normally to get to Deku Toad, you have to go through this back path down an area that's flooded and through past this rock. But because we did, just make sure I got those. Because we did early boss flags earlier, we can actually just enter it from the wrong side and look at the roof, and the fight will start. So you'll see what I mean here. Normally you have to go around and you actually swim up from the water underneath. But because I don't have Zora armor and I don't really fancy going for a swim, we can just start the fight like this. So I'm going to try and get a 1 cycle in Deku Toad here, which means not actually hitting a combo at any point. You want to just hit individual or double slashes. I messed this up already. Yeah, I nearly hit the combo and I had to stop myself. So we'll get him on the second cycle. just one extra one. So now we've got the call shot. So we'll stay away from lake bed now for about 45 minutes, and we'll come back later on. So this next part is going to be about getting up to Zora's Domain. So we want to be able to get a warp portal between wherever in Zora's Domain, because we're going to need that later on for the Linearu side. And actually the next trick I'm going to do is, if it goes wrong, which I pray it doesn't, it may actually crash the game. So we'll give it a go. Hopefully it goes alright. So what I'm going to do is, there's a Cargrok, one of the birds, flying around Lake Hylia with a rider on it. And a fact about Bulblins is that they actually can't touch water. So if they touch water, they die. So what we're going to do is we're going to manipulate the Cargrok in a certain way where it flies low enough that the rider touches water, and it dies. But when it's low, if the Cargrok grabs me, it'll try to play both cutscenes at the same time and crash the game. So we're going to go for it. Hopefully it doesn't happen. If it does, we have a save here, so we're going to be okay. And you'll know it works if a cutscene plays and you don't hear a whirring noise. So hopefully so. So we're going over here to Fire, because Fire would like us to clear Lake Hylia, would like us to go and fight the enemy over in the distance. So just a bit of tech smashing. And this is my friend here. So what I see is the Bulblin's just hanging out, and now he's on a card. So I'm gonna go down here. There's an element of RNG here based on its pathing, so I'm gonna hope to get some good RNG. Yeah, this looks like an okay starting point. Why not? So now I'm just gonna wait for him to fly towards me. If I don't like the RNG and I feel like I'm gonna crash, I will actually just go for the safe strat. Perfect. So what I see there is the cargo swoop really low, but because I was so deep in the water, it couldn't actually grab me. But if you mistime the Iron Boots pull on that, or your swim, yeah, he will grab you. And I'm going to follow it up with another quick trick here before we can do some donations. I'm going to clip out of bounds as the Cargrok up here. That's insanely close. And I failed. Yeah. I went a bit too far late on that one, so we'll give it another crack. It's not a huge issue. But the idea there is when you fly upwards, the rocks are really close together, and it pushes you out of bounds. So hopefully I'll get it this try. There we go. This is just standard flying around the back of the course now, so if there's any donations or admin stuff, yeah, happy for that.
Yep, so we have $2 from Potato, just saying 9K, woohoo! And then we have just a reminder that HyperX are our major sponsor for this event, and it's terrific to have them on board to support the Game on Cancer initiative. HyperX make fantastic headsets, keyboards, microphones, mice, and plenty more products, so no matter what you play, if you're into gaming, they have something for you. And you'll notice we're actually using several HyperX products for this event. I'm using the microphone and headphones at the moment, and they are very comfortable and very easy to use.
Yep, awesome. So what we're going to do here is we're going to work our way up through Zora's Domain, which has been frozen. So nothing too dissimilar to what you would see in a casual playthrough. But after this, we're going to go back to where we failed Gorge Void before, and I'm going to show you another trick there called Rupee Roll. So what we're going to do is, if you've ever picked up a blue rupee or a yellow rupee or anything over just a standard green one, you'll know that a text box pops up. And what we're going to do is, in that trick, we're going to jump at the height of a fence and catch a rupee right at the top of it. And if it's done correctly, you actually have a split second to roll on the fence and drop down on the other side. Sounds a bit weird to explain. It'll definitely make more sense when I get there. Just have to dodge these icicles. Yep, dodge those icicles. That'll be alright. Just pop back up. So at the top of here we got Zora's Domain, which we'll come back to later on when it's fully defrosted. And that will be for our Linear Twilight. So just a quick messenger fight in here, and then we will warp back and do a third Farron escape. So you only have to do 3 Farron escapes if you fail Gorge Void, otherwise you only have to do it twice, because you will then just be able to warp to Kakariko. So just get rid of this one, and 2 on the other side. So just in case anyone didn't know, if you accidentally only kill 2 out of 3 of them, and you leave 1 alive, it'll scream and it will respawn the others. So it's important that you always get the last 2 in a pair at least. So we're going to warp back to Farron Woods, or South Farron, sorry. Run back over, and we're going to do Rupee Roll. So some of the early game tricks haven't gone overly smooth. So hopefully a stronger late game to pull it through. But the early to mid game in this run is generally, I'd say, one of the hardest parts. I feel like it's quite hard to get a run going in this category. But late game isn't really a pushover either. There's not really, I'd say, a quote unquote easy part of this run. It's quite difficult and unforgiving. That looks good to me. 3 for 3 on them, so happy with that. And we're going to have to skip the mailman again. Just doing the same way as we did before. So after this, we'll be able to go and clear our first Twilight. So we're going to clear Eldin first. So we're running around Kakariko and up Death Mountain where the Gorons are. So just standard, going through, finding the different Twilight bugs, collecting them into the vessel, freeing Kakariko from the Twilight. And then we'll go do the same on the Linearu side. That looks good to me. Cool, so this time when we enter, we're actually able to go straight over to a tree on the hill, overlooking the gorge. And that's where we find a guaranteed 10 rupee that we'll need for this trick. So hopefully I can get this one first try. So the Shadow Beasts here are already defeated, so we're alright. And I might concentrate for a second. Perfect. So that's a really good example there of how the boomerang LJs work. Yeah, we're gonna have a minute or 2 of not too much if you want to do anything on admin side.
Nothing too much to do on our end. Just a reminder that we have those donation challenges coming up. I mentioned the Final Fantasy VII one earlier. Other ones coming up are the Simpsons Hidden Run Homer 1 outfit choice. Chosen One is currently leading that one by about $40. And then we have the Elder Scrolls 3 Morrowind live any percent tutorial. And there is $278 left on that incentive. So be sure to get it on that one if you want to see the live any percent tutorial happen.
Cool, so now what we've done is, because we've defeated those shadow beasts there, we can actually start clearing Kakariko of the Twilight. So this is basically what we skipped out with Farron. If you've never played it before, basically there are a bunch of Twilight bugs that run around that you can only see as Wolfling. And what we're going to do is going to go through, hunt them down, collect the tears that they drop, and that will fill up our vessel on the right-hand side of the screen. But we're going to take a bit of a different route to the casual Let's Play. There's a well within this graveyard that we can clip into after I just kill this bug. So if I come over here and I wait for the tear ding to happen, then we can just side hop into the well. And there's 3 of them down here. Hopefully I can get them all in one attack. Nope, bonk on the wall. That's an extra $1. So when you actually fight the bugs of Twilight, if you hear the ding noise, so you might hear it on the next one. As long as you hear that ding, you can actually leave the loading zone and come back into it, and it'll be there. But if you go too early, you'll have to refight the bug. So that's why I had to stand by that well for just a second or two after, just to make sure that it was properly loaded in. We got a weird one here where we're going to bonk against the wall on the left-hand side and spam the lock-on button. And if everything goes right, should hit the enemy. So that noise there is what we're waiting for. Because they do have a couple of seconds of kind of invincibility. A couple of seconds where you can't collect anything. But that is actually possible on the HD version of this game, which has a very different run. So now we're going to go into the hotel. Again, there's going to be an intentional bonk here to get the bugs off of the wall. And also we're going to have to get one of them out of a fireplace. Just dropping in. That should do it. And he's spawned up top. Alright, I'll come back for you. So bonking off this cupboard here, or this counter, sorry, will make the bug upstairs scared. So if I come in, it should just be flying around rather than hanging out on the wall. So let's see where this one's at. Yeah, he's up there hiding. And now he's down. So what's supposed to happen there is that when you burn the fire, the bug is supposed to come out, and that's a pot, and run across the floor. But I was standing a little bit too far to the left there, so he's landed up on top. So we've got another, I believe it's 5 bugs here. And then we've got 3 up in Death Mountain. But you're going to see me do a trick just after this called Bomb House Skip. And so if you've ever played this game casually, there is a bomb house up on the hill. And what we're actually going to do is, the way that cutscene triggers is a bug runs into the house and then you have to chase it. And that's kind of what starts the whole sequence of events. But what we're actually going to do is we're going to do a jump around the cutscene and start it later on. And if we intercept the bug, because that cutscene can never actually play from there on out, the house will just disappear. So it'll make more sense in about 15-20 seconds when I get there. I just gotta get this one more bug. So there's a wolf option for this, or there's a human one. The wolf one's only a few seconds faster, but is much more difficult in my opinion. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to stand over by the edge of the stairs. That looks about right. I'm going to jump around so the bug doesn't know I'm coming. And then if I come up to the sign, the bug's going to start running. And if I intercept the bug and wait a sec, the house disappears. And now you can actually get crushed within that house, because the structure of the house still exists, but you just can't see the textures. So if you carefully work your way around there, you can just grab the tiers and get out. But you can't just walk around there freely. And then we've got one last bug here, and then we're heading up to Death Mountain. So my rupee count now is a little bit low. I want to get my rupee count to about 45 by the time I'm going to Snow Peak, because that'll make life easier later on the run. What you saw me do there is when there's a rupee that can give you a text box, so a blue, a red, whatever it might be, if you side hop or back hop through it, you actually can skip the text box. So it saves a little bit of time across the run. It's nothing major, because when you do actually get one of those text boxes, you never have to get another one, as long as it's in the same play of the file. So we've just got 3 up here. We'll have a Shadow Beast fight, and then we will be off to Lanayru to do the other side of it. Lanayru Twilight's a bit longer than this one. You cover a lot more ground. You end up down in Castle Town at one point. Yeah, it's a long one. So this one here should just be hiding at the top. If I stay up here, I should actually be able to grab it with my foot. Cool. And there's gonna be a Shadow Beast fight up here. So Shadow Beasts sometimes don't like to look at you. I don't really know what the reason is for it. So what we're going to do here is going to try and bait these ones at the end away from the wall, so that I can get them later on. So we're going to run over here and make them come over to me. And then hopefully when I turn back around, they're in a good spot. Yeah, they're perfect. So we're going to need this warp later on to Death Mountain to get the meteor to defrost Zora's Domain. And this is all on a steam cycle, so got the cycle I wanted. And there'll just be one last bug here. It's going to be a cutscene for like the next 20 seconds if you've got anything on your end.
Nothing to cover at the moment, but I'll let you know as donations keep coming in.
Oh, easy. Cool. So that is Elden cleared. So we actually don't, off the top of my head, we don't come back to Elden until later on to go to City in the Sky. So now we're going to clear out the Lanayru side of it. So what we need to do first is we need to warp, we need to talk to Midna, and then we need to warp through to Death Mountain. I just warped straight back to Kakariko. That's the first time for everything. So I'm going to go warp to Death Mountain because there is a meteor hanging out there, which would be useful for defrosting Zora's Domain. And then we can actually ride the water the whole way down to Lake Hylia. And that way we can collect the vessel and start working our way through. So I'm going to go for a trick soon called Waterfall Side Hop, which is fairly self-explanatory by the name. So what it is it's a 6-frame window, but the first 3 frames drop you to a lower platform, and the second 3 frames drop you to the higher platform. So we want to land on the higher platform, but obviously if you miss those second batch of 3 frames, you fall off the edge. So I'll be going for that just a little bit into Lanayru, and hopefully I get that. It's about a 10 to 15 second time save. But I just prefer it a lot to the casual strat. There's also a frame perfect side hop here after the cutscene, so you'll see me just mashing away, hoping to get it. Nope. It saves about 5 seconds. There's no real way to time that. You just kind of gotta mash and hope. But that is fine. So we just gotta ride this down now through to Lake Hylia Spring. So this here, actually where I am right now, is where we'll do Waterfall Side Hop the next time we come around. So we'll keep that in mind. So after this, what we're going to do is we're going to have to go through what's going to look like a bit of a weird sequence. We're going to have to go and collect a bomb bag, because bombs are going to play a huge role in this run in terms of how we defeat Morpheal, and just optimizations in general. So it's going to look a bit weird because I do actually just start throwing bombs everywhere. But I assure you there is a purpose for it. So what we need to do is we're going to get a lent bomb bag from someone, and we're going to empty it of just the standard bombs and fill it up with water bombs. But the problem with the lone bomb bag is that if you save warp or die, it disappears. So that's not a lot of help for us across the run. So what we need to do is during the time that we have that lone bomb bag, we actually get an actual one, which is from a Goron in Zora's Domain. And then we have to empty that bomb bag to fill it up with water bombs for the Mortar fight. So it's 2 sets of obtaining bomb bags and 2 sets of emptying bomb bags. So we're going to start throwing bombs around a lot, quite just a little bit after this. So this is just a standard messenger fight. These guys actually do stay apart from each other quite a lot. So you can kind of manipulate them closer together like this. And that make it a lot easier. We're going to come back to Lake Hylia later on because we need to get the cannon. And also we have to get to Arbiter's Grounds. See if there's some money in the grass while I wait. So throughout this split, whenever we defeat a Twilight bug and we're waiting for it to spawn, I'm going to start checking through grass and trying to get a bit more money. There is backup rupees everywhere in the run, but it's just kind of nice to get them as you go. There's going to be one bug hanging out on a wall here. He's going this way from the looks of it. There he is. So this is where we're going to do waterfall side hop. So I'm going to take this tier. And basically the second this cutscene, this like animation changes, I'm going to pull the item wheel to buffer it. And hold right. That looks good. Awesome. So that saves about 10 to 15 seconds. The slower strat is just to kind of sink in the water and shimmy across to the side. But as I said, I prefer that a lot more. So we're going to come down now to the lily pad bugs. These can be heavily RNG. They just kind of fly around wherever they want. I'm going to see if I can get a 2-1 just for fun. That could have been a lot worse. I'm not too mad about that. I just gotta wait for this tier to come back. Thank you. And so those bugs can kind of go wherever they want. And then there's another one over here trying to dig. This is a bit of money grass. There's generally quite a bit of rupees in this grass. And now we're going to go down and see Isa. And this is the first time we see Isa in the run. And she's actually who gives us the first bomb bag that we borrow. So if you've ever played this game casually, Isa has a set of mini games she'd like you to play. You gotta row a boat down a river, and you get to collect fruit, and there's all different stuff going on. But for the sake of this run, we actually just want her for the bomb bag, and then we never come back. We just steal her bomb bag from her. And after this bug, we're going to head over to Castletown. So we're going to go now, and there's a bit of running in this segment. This is why, a lot of people aren't huge fans of this segment, just because it is high on the land. Now we've got to just sprint across the fields, down footpaths, just because there is a bug hiding at the very back corner of Castletown. So we'll take a minute or two to get to him. But there's going to be a couple of difficult tricks coming up soon. If you've ever seen the snowboarding part of this game before, I'm actually going to be doing that hopefully without clearing the snow. So it's going to effectively be blind snowboarding, which is always good fun. That'd be that. We got to pop into Snow Peak for a little bit. For about 3 minutes only, to collect the ball and chain, because basically a lot of the items that we're trying to collect in this run are needed just for the Zamp fight later on. So if you've ever played this game and you've gotten to the Zant fight, you'll see it's like a boss rush scenario. So Zant will warp you between different previous boss fights that you've done. So for example, Ook, who gave me the Gale Boomerang, there's an Ook phase of the Zant fight, and there's a Morpheal phase of the Zant fight, and all this. So what we need is we actually need the items from those respective phases to defeat him. So we need to pop into Snow Peak for 3 minutes to get the ball and chain. But I'm a big fan of that fight. I think it's one of the most creative boss fights in the Zelda game. Cool. And now across into Castle Town for the first time. So we're only going to go to Castle Town twice in the run, I believe. If you do a Zora armor route, you have to come back here to go through the wagon escort section. If anyone's ever seen that, you basically have to guide a wagon through Hyrule Field to deliver something, and at the end of that, you can get Zora armor. But because Zora armor routes aren't that much slower in comparison to Nozier routes, it's about 6 minutes to get the Zora armor, and plus some optimizations change. But what you'll see I'm doing here is I'm doing a thing called dash cancel. So basically I'm rolling my finger between A onto B because dashing speed in Castle Town just isn't normal. We can get a side hop here. And hopefully I got the optimization on this bug. Perfect. Yeah, so the dashing speed in Castle Town is not... That took a second. Is not standard, so we run a bunch of dash cancels, so just kind of piano scrolling your finger between A to B, so that you can always just keep going through it. So I'm going to get one more bug down here, near fire, and then we're actually going to go back into a bit of flying. Because I've only got 6 bugs left. Or 7, sorry. So there's one hiding out the back here. There. I don't know where the tier has gone, but there it is. Actually, now we get to go and attack a few bugs as the Kargarok. So there's going to be 4 bugs hiding on this course that we get to fly through. And at the end of it, I'm actually going to intentionally bonk on a wall. And what that'll do is it'll spawn me back in Lake Hylia next to the final bug. So we're going to fly past this one and get its friend down the path, and this one will actually catch up to me. So that's the first pair of 2, and we'll see another 2 further on, and then I'm going to just smack into a wall. So we see here, get this one, collect it into the vessel, and then happy to end the flight path. And the benefit of this, as you'll see when we pop right out, is that the last bug to get is right next to us, and then we go into the boss bug fight. So when there's only 1 bug left, where's he gone? There he is. When you get only to 1 tier left, the boss bug will spawn, which is that cutscene there. And what this is it's a giant bug in the middle of Lake Hylia, who contains the last tier to clear Lineru. So I'm going to try and do what we call a fast fight. So basically, you can stop its flight path midway and quick attack it. So it'll make sense when I do the first one. But basically, when it flies at me, it's got like electric prongs on the front, and what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to hit the bottom of it below the electric and then attack it straight away. So you'll see it when it comes by me now. And we'll do a second one here. So the bug will actually fly the way you face, so that's why I'm C-upped at this point. And then we just need to do 1 charge attack to finish it. And I'm actually going to intentionally bonk just, oh no, not never mind. So if you do a charge attack there and you hit, as you can see, it's slightly curved. If you actually bonk into its stomach, it'll skip this cutscene. Sorry, it'll skip the attack animation. So a small optimization, but yeah, it's not too bad. And now we're done with Twilights. So that's the only 2 Twilights of the run. And now we're going to get into the bomb split, as I was calling it before. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to warp up to Zora's Domain, and we're going to go down to Isa and help her out with some Shadow Beasts. So this split here is kind of setting up for the rest of the run, because when we have our bomb bag sorted, it kind of lays the foundations for a lot of other splits going forward. Because we're gonna need it for Morpheus, we're gonna need it for Zant, and then we're gonna actually use it. You get 10 bombs, 10 water bombs when you fill it up, and what you're gonna do is you're actually going to use basically every bomb for a different optimization. That hopefully does not hit the ground. That was, yep. That was close. So yeah, we're going to use the bombs at different points throughout the run as optimizations. So especially on Arbiter's Grounds and Hyrule, we're going to use the bombs to kind of quick kill a lot of different enemies. But we've got a Howling Stone coming up here, which we need for Ending Blow or Final Blow. So this is the only skill we learn throughout the run, and we never actually learn any of the other ones, unfortunately, any of the other 6. And we get to do it again, and we got a little bit of a cutscene. May nab a drink. So if you've ever played this game casually or seen any larger runs of this, there's 7 hidden skills that we get in a run from these golden wolves. So they're all just different attacks we can use in different ways. You can get a shield bash where you can hit things back with your shield. You get a massive spin attack, different bits and pieces. But just for this, we don't need any of them. And so 1 frame side hop here, which I did not get. That's all right. And we're going to transform behind the sign and spawn in a couple of Shadow Beasts. So basically, after clearing this area here, Isa's going to be happy with us, and she will offer us up a bomb bag, which we're going to take and immediately leave. I messed that up. That's alright. Small time loss. That's alright. I meant to hit an insta spin there, which is basically when you do a jump attack, while you're midair, if you spin your analog stick, when you land, you'll straight away go into a spin attack. So it's a really quick way of taking down enemies. So Isa here is going to offer it up. I'm going to take it, I'm going to drop 3, and I'm going to Uku straight out. So we're going to 1, 2, and I'm going to leave. So this is why the Uku is so important in runs, because I don't want to go and do Pillar Clip again. I'm going to basically go from here to Lake Bed and straight back out, and then when I get to Snow Peak, I'm going to Uku back into Lake Bed. So this is actually just dropping 30 bombs. So I can collect, there's water bombs in the chest in the corner. So I think this is the part of the run where most people who have never seen the run before are very confused as to what is happening. So the reason we're putting it in water is because that'll instantly just destroy the bomb. Whereas if you're just putting it on land, you can only have 3 bombs on the ground at once. So we'll drop the last one, and then this here will be 10 water bombs. And we will Uku out again, and we're going to go to Zora's Domain, and there's a Goron in the ground, in the water that we would like to free up. So there's actually a faster way of doing this, where you don't have to do that first sequence of emptying a bomb bag called Norgor. And what that is it's a frame perfect trick in Zora's Domain using your boomerang to knock out the light on a torch as you do like a side hop, and I don't fully understand it, I'm not gonna lie to you, but it saves about a minute. And basically it skips this whole first part of the split. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to chuck on my boots. And what you'll see me do here actually is first off, the Goron text here will be instant. And that's actually the reason that German is quicker than English, this one text box. Normally it would be a slow read, but you could just skip straight through it. And there, just that second part of it, you saw me do a thing called Rocket Link. So when you have your boots and water bombs, if you pull out the water bomb and then mid-animation equip something over your iron boots and press A, you'll actually launch to the top of the water that you're currently in, which is great to do in that scenario, but if you do that in the middle of a fight, you're in a lot of trouble. So we're going to try and not do that in the Morphle fight. I'm just going to drop a couple of bombs as I go along. So I'm going to unplug my controller here and hold D-pad right and Z, and it ate my D-pad press.
Do you want
I love GameCube D-pads. There we go. So by doing that, we're putting the map button and the mini-call on the same frame by unplugging it. And what happens there is actually, because I try to warp to a different zone, the game actually doesn't know where I am. So all loading zones right now are disabled. So that's called map glitch. We're going to use it again later in the run. So basically, if I was to go to a loading zone right now and run through it, the game would soft lock. So what this lets us do is we can actually run through the blizzard before we've cleared it. So we're going to use it again later on to do an out-of-bounds jump when going to Arbiter's Grounds. So just for some of the tricks in this run, like back in time earlier, it's easier just to unplug the controller rather than trying to time two inputs on the same frame. You'll see me climb a bit quicker because if you go to the very edge of where like a level up meets a wall, you can just kind of pop up a little bit. Just a tiny optimization. So what we're going to do at the top here is that there's another Howling Stone, and we're going to use it once and then leave, so we're not going to unlock the hidden skill of it. And this actually just disables map glitch. Because we've done the Howling Stone, the game knows where we are, and now it's happy for me to go in the loading zone. But if I went and just went straight ahead and dug in, yeah, the game would soft lock. So do that once, map glitch is disabled, and we can leave. So now we're going to go over to the snowboarding, which, as I said, I hope I get to do a blind snowboarding. If I don't, it'll be easier, but it'll be slower. So just got to get through this cave. There's a couple of keys in here which choose to shoot you down from time to time.
You need to wait.
That's a bit far left for my liking. They didn't knock me down, but I did not make it up. So I might just attack them to make my life easier. Cool, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to do an LJA off the edge of this mountain into the loading zone of the Yeti. That should be good enough, I believe. It's a fairly forgiving load zone. Yeah, there we go. So what I've done there is basically I've jumped into the loading zone of the Yeti without defeating. There's a Shadow Beast fight there that we don't want to do. But unfortunately, because we didn't defeat them, the snowstorm is still about. So we're not going to be able to see this path as I go down. So I may concentrate here for a second because I'm notorious for throwing myself off the edge. So basically what we want to do is we want to chase him down into Snow Peak. You can actually race them later on if you want to have. You can race against him and the other Yeti. We're going to bonk off this. And hopefully make our way down the path successfully. That's a bonk. So jumping and spin attacking, the more time you're in the air, the faster you go. So I'm just going to do that when it is safe to do so. This part's generally okay. There is one little area where we take a shortcut, which involves jumping over some gaps. That's kind of the part that is most likely to get you. So this part's generally all good. This is all ground underneath us. But this next part is where it gets a bit more confusing. That's one. There's two. Awesome, didn't die. So that's about a 25-second time save over fighting the messengers. So happy for that. And there's also a bit of health at the end of here, which we're going to need for a bit of snow peak. So snow peak, as I said, we're literally in and out. We're going to come in here, we're going to get the ball and chain, we're going to collect 200 rupees, and we're going to leave. And that's when we will go to the Morphle fight. So unfortunately, we actually don't get to fight the boss of Snow Peak, as much fun as it is. So just a boomerang jump across here. And we can actually claw shot through this. I cannot aim. There we go. I'm going to chuck in my bomb so I can drop a few more as I go. Alright, do a little hop down here. And we're going to clip through an ice wall here. So I'd say in the grand scheme of things it's a fairly new strat, but basically rather than getting a small key, which is up in the previous room, if we actually just ESS, as we'll think, I've been booped out by actually, but if we ESS there, we can actually just stick our butt through the wall. Nope. And just backflip out the other side. Just straighten this up. That looks good to me. Transform, and we can just backflip to the other side. And that was waiting there for me. So now we're going to do another skip called Freezered Skip. So if you've ever seen the Freezerds, they can be quite annoying. You need to have the ball and chain to defeat them to get through to the other side. Or you can use a cannon, which is located around the map. What I'm going to do is I'm going to bonk and then jump through the wall, or sorry, through the door. Nice. And we're actually going to open the door now from the other side. So that gets us access to Dark Hammer without needing to use the cannon at all. I can drop a couple of bombs. And we'll get into the fight. So I'm going to use a bomb here to quick kill him. So I'm going to wait for 2 spins. Drop a bomb. Wait for that to blow up. Oh, didn't get the instant spin off. Cool, so now we've got our ball and chain, so we're all good with that. So I'm going to go pick up an 100 rupee out back and an 100 rupee in the lobby, and then we're going to get into Morphle. So as you may have seen with the Goron in Zora's Domain, that basically if we have our iron boots on and we pull a water bomb and we equip something over the iron boots and then throw the bomb, we can refill our oxygen, which is great. But the problem is we're not actually able, you either are always moving or you're never moving. So basically if you choose to move at the start and you stop, you will just drop the bomb and you will not have a good time. And that'll make more sense as I get into the fight. But what we want to do is basically we want to go through just sequences of putting on our boots, equipping the bombs, overriding our boots, and throwing the bomb to make sure that we don't drown in the Morphle fight. So I'm going to grab just another 100 rupee from this suit on the left. Side hop into that so I don't actually get the text box. And we're back into lake bed. So this is our last trip into lake bed. This will get us the final few shadow that we need. And then we'll be off to collect mirrors, mirror shards. So I chuck on bombs and rang. Drop 2 because I only need 1 and a backup. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to refill with another 10 water bombs, and those will be my 10 water bombs for the run. I don't need to collect any more after that. Stand up here. So my rupee count's a little bit low. It should be fine, but I do like it to be kind of about 45 at this point. That's okay. So we're going to do the only bosky skip of the run here. So by using a specific setup and also our iron boots, we're going to be able to just clip straight into the bosky room, which is in the middle of this. So that looks about good to me. Turn around. So stand about here. Should be alright. 1, 2, 3. Put boots on, back and right, and we're into the mortal fight. Okay, so as you see when we drop in here, this is a long way down. We actually, if you don't have the iron boots equipped, it's super tight to actually sink the whole way down to Morphil. But this fight is very heavy RNG. So what I want is the eye to come towards me so I can spin attack it, and then go back into Morphil, but not straight away. There's a sweet spot with it a bit. So barely down to the bottom. So I'm going to claw shot Morphil and then side hop and hopefully spin attack it. Okay, didn't like me on the RNG. Okay, got there in the end. Wait for it to go back. Pull bomb. And as you'll see there, I took off the iron boots because I put the claw shot over the iron boots. And now we're going to start floating up. But because I'm not moving, I actually can't move forward. Otherwise, Link will drop the bomb and I won't fill up my oxygen. So this is, this is now, if I fail it, about a 2 to 3 minute time loss. So I'd rather not. I'm happy to use extra bombs. 2 bombs is what I go for, but if I need to use more, it's not the end of the world. Morphil is very high up right now. Alright, so hopefully Morphil keeps going left. That is perfect if they do. Looks like they are. So see how I'm holding forward? Okay, they turned around, never mind. I'll pull an extra bomb just to be safe. That is not ideal. Cool. Morphil has noticed me. I can go up a little bit and then grab the eye. And what I want is Morphil to start pointing downwards. I'm looking for a frame where it's pointing down. That works. And what happens is that basically, if Morphil's pointing down, you can unequip your iron boots and then quickly re-grab on. So we'll take a 3 bomb. That could have definitely been a whole lot worse. But that fight there is one of the big reasons why this route is quite difficult. And yeah, we got about a minute cutscene just to wait now, take a breather, because that is, yeah, I'm happy that that's gone first try. May grab some water. Can I know how far we are into the run, just time-wise? Just for curiosity.
Yep, so we are just coming up to the 1 hour and 34 minute mark.
Okay, that's not bad, yep. So I think the fastest ever more fill time, like leaving lake bed. I think I've seen as a 123 at like world record level, but a 134 I'll take that given everything that happened quite early on. So this here is basically our last fuse shadow. So because we've got it, Midna is happy, so we didn't need to get either of the previous two. And now we get to go to Arbiter's Grounds, which is quite a difficult temple, but there's a lot in there and a lot of skips and tricks. And I'm actually going to grab the heart container here just because of the setting. I don't really want to die later on. We generally do 4 heart containers in a run, so you're starting 3 plus 1 more that we grab in City in the Sky. But for the sake of this, I'll grab an extra one just to be safe. So what we've actually got here is we've got Midna's Desperate Hour. So if you've ever seen the casual playthrough of this, long story short, Zant comes along, takes Midna's power away, and Midna goes white because she is powerless. So what we need to do is we need to go visit Zelda, so Zelda can help fix her. So one of the best soundtracks in the game, in my opinion. But this is a lot of wandering through the fields, through Castle Town, and then through a bunch of sewers and rooftops. So after this, we'll then go into Arbiter's, and then it's kind of... We've done a lot of the storyline at this point, so then it becomes a case of just jumping from temple to temple. So we'll have Arbiter's Grounds, we'll have City in the Sky, we'll have Palace of Twilight, and then we'll have Hyrule. So we've still got 4 more temples to go.
Do we have a second for a quick donation?
Yeah, go for it. Yeah, we've got loads of time.
Yep. So we have $10 from Jeeves, who says, DSS once for the crowd. I'm giving 10 more if you give it a shot. Keep it up, man. Very nice run. Good luck and have fun.
I'll have to give it a go. Jeeves is referring to a skip known as Death Sword skip. So if you've ever played in Arbiter's Grounds, there is and the mini boss is called Death Sword, which flies around the room. And basically, if you attack Death Sword and then use a Midna charged attack, you can actually launch out of the arena, but it's quite specific, and it's something that Jeez was teaching me the other day. So that's where that's come from. But I'll have to give it a go for the $10 donation to charity. So we've got just a couple of text boxes here with Louise the cat. So while you're role-playing in this game, you can actually talk to all the animals, which plays more of a role in a casual playthrough than it does in a speedrun. But you can talk to the cats, the dogs, whatever it might be, at different points. And basically, we're going to get directed now into the sewers, which is where we actually got our first interaction with a Poe. So Poes are basically enemies that only come out at night or in temples. And there's 60 of them across the map. And for each Poe, there is they have a Poe soul, and so in an 100% playthrough, you have to get all 60, but only at night. So it does become quite tedious. So we'll see the first one here. Oh, sorry, just after this. We just sneak through Telma's bar first. And here we are. So we're here in Giovanni's place. So whenever you see this little lantern, that would be a Poe. And then we have to pull out the Poe soul. So we're going to do a thing in Arbiter's Ground, because in the main room of Arbiter's Grounds, the way you get through it is that there's 4 Poes that fly off to different corners of the temple, and you have to defeat each one, take each Poe soul, and that becomes a flame which lights a torch to open a door. But we're actually going to skip one of the Poes in this, because similar to kind of how a lot of things in this game work, they only really care about the last ones, so they don't really mind too much if you do skip the first one. So we'll cross that bridge when we get there. But now you're going to see me follow a similar path to what I did about 10 minutes into the run, when we went off to see Zelda. So just through here, and then we're going to go up the tower and across the castle rooftops. So just a thing of note there. So the fact that I could change between wolf and human let me just change and use a lantern. Whereas if in a casual playthrough, you have to climb around with wolf link and light torches and all different bits and pieces. So I'm going to block this attack and then knock him into the water. And instead of taking the ropes. So this is actually one of my favorite splits. It's quite overlooked in terms of optimizing for a run, but I quite enjoy the movement, and I think it's good fun. Because what we see here is that when I get to the top, there'll be 2 boblins, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to jump attack from earlier on across the ropes. But if you mistime it, you actually bonk the whole way to the bottom. Nice. And now we're on to the rooftop, which has a bridge cycle. So basically, I kind of need to keep going full speed the whole way across this, otherwise the bridge will fall in. So it is fairly tight cycle. But I will go for it. I didn't get a dash off earlier on, so this may go badly. Got it, nice. So that bridge can be a little bit finicky. Kind of a falling bridge doesn't always have the smoothest animations, so you can randomly get caught in it. You can clip through it. You can, yeah, it can go wrong in a lot of different ways. And now back in to see Zelda again. So where we're actually going to go now is we're going to go get Ending Blow, which I've talked about for a part of the run, because this is actually the only way we can kill Ganon at the end of the game. So this is a requirement that we need. So just pop up here, and when we actually defeat, when we actually learn the move, we're going to spawn in North Farron, just because that's actually where we're supposed to originally get this. But it's quite helpful to have around. It's a quick way to kill a lot of enemies. There is a bit of lore around this, which I don't know, but yeah. So this is almost like the tutorial parts of the run. Each time you go to a different wolf, which you get from the Howling Stones, he walks you through how to do the move and the scenario that it works in. And for an 100% run, it's really, really helpful because it actually unlocks different movement that you can do in the run. So if you use an attack skill, for example, as movement, you can actually take a lot of shortcuts in the run, which is really nice. But for the sake of this, we just wanted to kill Ganon. And now we are off to Arbiter's Grounds. We're going to go through Lake Hylia first because we need a cannon to shoot us over into Gerudo Desert. And there's an unnecessarily long ladder climbing coming up. So we actually don't do much in Gerudo Desert in this run. We literally just use it to get to Arbiters on the other side. But you'll see me do a cool glitch just outside of Arbiters, which will involve map glitch again. What we're going to do is basically using map glitch, because it despawns loading zones. We're going to jump out of bounds and then jump underneath the map. But the loading zone for the King Boblin fight doesn't have like a bottom point. For example, it'll just keep going to the bottom. So as long as we get anywhere within that square of the loading zone, you'll be okay. So you're going to see me just fall through just kind of darkness until I hit the cutscene. But this is everyone's favorite 20 seconds of the run. They actually sped up the climbing of the ladder for the HD version. Because at the top here we have one of the members which we don't really see in this run. We kind of skip a lot of the lore, but this guy actually does come back later on to help us on. So he's just going to give me like a token, basically, a memo, that I can give to the man that owns the cannon to send me off. Bit of equip changing. That's actually a part of the run that's quite undervalued, is knowing what equips you need to go forward. You save a lot of time knowing your next two equips rather than always having to jump between the two. Slight movement optimization here that I missed. That's alright, that's tiny. And we're going to transform just before the end of this bridge, otherwise Plum the bird will try to talk to me. There he is. So that there is fire, which we only use him for this, and also he will fix our cannon for us later on when we want to go to City in the Sky. So that's why we need 300 rupees by the time we get to the other side of Arbiter's Grounds. Otherwise, we need to start looking for backups. And you'll see the way I'm running here. I'm running with C down, and that's just a lag reduction. There's a surprising amount of lag in this game. So kind of not looking towards Lake Hylia, and running with C down when you're in Hyrule Field or in the desert. Different bits and pieces like that actually can save you quite an amount of time, because there's a surprising amount of lag in this game. So we're going to come up, we're going to jump over this. There should be a line. Unfortunately, we don't actually ride. I don't know the technical name of them, the pigs. I don't really know what they're called, but we don't actually ride them in this run. Instead, what we do is we're actually going to clip through the gate where they normally force us to run through. So what you see here is that I can change over to the ball and chain and take down the first tower, and then I guess slightly overlooked that there's a big gap on the right hand side of this gate coming up that you can just walk through. So I'm going to hit this, transfer to Wolf, and what you'll see here is you can actually just like wander through. Awesome. So here I'm going to do my map glitch again. So unplug my controller, and it's D-pad right and Z. Wait for the cutscene to play. Find a loading zone, say yes, and transform. So I'm going to need my boomerang for this. So it's a bit of a particular setup here. I'm going to do a spin attack, side hop, yep. Doesn't need to be that specific, but you know. Roll up until the out of bounds, and now what I'm going to do is I'm going to jump. There we go. So that's what I mean with the King Bulblin 3 trigger, just keeps going down the way. So that saves us from having to clear the camp and find a key. It's a pretty good time save. You can actually do a different map glitch. The same map glitch from the front of the first loading zone I walked in, and you can actually just jump endlessly for about 30 seconds through the void until you hit the loading zone. So actually we do get to ride the pig here. I was incorrect. And then it's into Arbiter's Grounds, which is quite an RNG heavy dungeon. Nothing that will kill your run, but just kind of different bits and pieces that lose you a little bit of time. So if we go over and take this guy. So within Arbiter's Grounds, you've got your first section, which has Death Sword, which I'll go for the skip. And then in the second one you have Stallard. So Stallard is fought on the spinner. So basically you shoot from the perimeter and you keep going in and attacking them with the spinner. But about, I'd say coming up on a year ago now, G's, who actually gave the donation before, found an RTA set up for Stallard skip. which is a trick that saves about 1:40, and it actually lets you skip the entire Stallard fight, but it's insanely difficult. So what it does, in a very, very simple terms, is that you use an enemy timed with a frame-perfect bomb blast to clip out of bounds beyond the entire fight. So you just never need to fight Stallard. It's a huge time save, one of the biggest ones for a while, and it just helped the world record drop down by about 1.5 minutes within kind of a week of it being found. So a really cool trick. I will not be going for it because I wouldn't even know where to start with it. Cool, so as we're going to get to this cutscene here, this is what I was talking about with the pose before. So within this cutscene, 4 pose come along. They take the flames from those torches, and that'll shut down the gate. So I'm going to skip the first pose. There's going to be one right in front of me as this cutscene ends, and we're going to avoid it and go to the west wing of the dungeon. And by doing a boomerang LJA into the sand, I can actually roll on a broken pillar and skip a huge chunk of the dungeon and go straight to the 4th po. It'll make more sense when I do it, and then we'll come back and get the previous 2. But you'll see what I mean in a second. So this po here will be waiting for me, and as long as I don't go into Wolf Link and I don't click my senses button, I'll actually never see that po. So we're going to go out here. There's 2 Moldorms, which I hope do not attack me as I speak. That there should be good. Awesome. And another one across there. Change midair. Awesome. So now we're going straight over to Po 4. So we never have to kill that Po. That'll just hang out for the rest of the run. That's a wall. And we can actually take down this one pretty quickly. And on to the next room. So basically, Po 4 is actually quite an RNG heavy Po. So what it is that there's 4 Pos, or the same Po, split into 4 different bodies, and only one of them will be the correct one to attack. And you can actually manipulate the RNG based on which Po is the correct one. So I'll show you what I mean when we get into this next cutscene. So you see here that the Po will split up, and so basically whichever one of these turns purple and I can attack, I will respond in a different way, and that will help manipulate the Po RNG. So it's up, so I believe that's get back on and jump attack, and then we go straight into the second cycle. So that was really good RNG. Everyone has their favorite Po which they would like to do. For the different ones, for example, you'll either side hop or one of them you do nothing. And that'll just help the second cycle go a bit quicker. And what I need to do is I also actually need to take the sense of the Po, so I can know where a chain is underground. So a little bit of jumping around here. I'm going to push this box, and you can actually skip this here, this rupee I'm about to go get. But because my money is so low, I kind of need it, because I need to find 63 rupees within Arbors. So that's our first 20, and we're guaranteed another 40 from two different enemies. So I need to find 3, which will be perfectly fine. So each time I come back into this room, you'll see this cutscene play for the other 2 pos. So dig this up, and we're gonna fall through the floor. And there should be an enemy on the other side of this wall. So ball and chain here is really helpful. It's a very good way to deal a lot of damage really quickly. in the death sword fight, if you want like a beginner strat, you can use the ball and chain to get through very, very fast. And onto our second putt. So here, if you do a jump attack mid-animation, it'll actually cut their animation off. I'm going to attack these two bubbles, just so they don't annoy me in a second. And then one more Poe, and that's our last of the run. We don't need to get any more. And there's going to be a rat in the next turn, which you can actually manipulate to hit you mid lever push, which will save a lot of time, but it is quite finicky, so I'm sadly just going to take it out. One more cutscene. I've been keeping like a side note of how many bonks I'm doing because I'm going to run. It's racking up a little bit. And we're actually going to go back to the previous side, so you actually cross through the middle. And because we've pushed that box, we can actually access the last Poe through here. Obviously the box was in the way before. So if you climb up through here, we actually get the third Poe through basically going through its room in reverse. So if you've ever played this game casually, you'll know that there's these invisible rats which are in this room, and they actually won't spawn because I've unlocked the door. I've no need to get the other key, so we can just wander straight through here and there's no invisible rats or anything like that. And this one can be a little bit tricky. There's a lot of little skeletons around the place, but if enough of them build up, that should be enough. I should be able to get a double attack and a bunch of spare rupees. I'm just going to grab that 20 while I'm here, actually. So my money is good. And our final Poe is waiting in here for me. So now that we've got all the Poe cells we need, when we go back into the main room, the door is going to open. And normally you go through this big process of using the spinner to climb on different walls and work your way around the temple. A lot of different bits and pieces. We're actually just going to take the boss keys straight away. Because if you stay as Wolflink, you can jump while you're in sand and just basically never get taken down into it. It'll make a lot more sense in a second. But normally you would have to ride a spinner up different paths and avoid objects, but we grab it within about 10 seconds, which makes our life a lot easier. So just in here on the left, there's going to be like a pit that you can fall down. But if you do some movement around the side, you can actually just skip it. And now we've got the boss key. So that's always a good one to see if you watch like glitchless runs or whatever, and then you watch this. I'm going to go for a set of human movement here, which is fairly specific, but it looks really cool if you do actually manage to pull it off. Nope, didn't do it. That's alright. You can basically do a side hop there, which will jump over the wall, and you'll end up on this side. You'll be over here already. But I can just go as Wolf. It is not a huge time loss. Nearly got stuck in the pit. And so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to drop 2 bombs, which should hopefully take out these skeletons. So I'll drop one about here. That looks good to me. And we'll chuck another one here. So I can go run ahead. If those are placed right, this door should open in a sec. There we go. And so now I will be attempting Death Sword Skip because Jesus has requested it. So normally when you go in here, you can basically just kill Death Sword with a bunch of separate slashes, similar to how we did the Deku Toad earlier. But what I'm going to do here is basically, I'm going to hit Death Sword in a particular spot that will cause him to fly in front of a door. And at a particular frame, I need to let go of a charged attack, and it will launch me over. So if you see there's a gate, you might see it in this cutscene. That gate in the background, I'm going to jump over that if this all goes according to plan. So we're going to hit him. Run over to this corner. Oh, I got it stuck. That is not going to work, but we will give it a go. That's where it has this thing where it gets stuck sometimes in different corners. Yeah, didn't think so. So basically, Death Sword can get stuck, and there's a backup to it, which is fairly specific. So instead, I'm actually just going to attack it with a sword. But you get the idea of how it works. When it takes off into the air, just making sure I don't mess up my slashes. There we go. So yeah, if you get it in this particular spot and you stand in a certain spot, and then as it flies past, you will launch over. It saves about 25 seconds, which isn't the most time in the world, but 25 seconds is 25 seconds. And it does feel very cool to do. But as I said, I only started learning it, I think, on Monday. So that was going for it. Cool. And now we have got the spinner. So now we're going to go straight to the Stallard fight, which takes about 5 minutes for the split. But I do quite enjoy this fight. I think it's a lot of fun. But there's a fair amount of RNG to it as well. Save that. And back to the start of Arbiters. I'll grab some water while we're... So we can actually use the spinner to cut through here quicker. And we'll see the spinner used quite a bit going forward. So we're going to see it in City in the Sky. It plays a role in Hyrule Castle. It's quite a... I think it's quite a creative item in terms of Zelda games. I think it's one of my favorites. But we'll have an entire fight based around it coming up now. So Stallard has 2 phases. So basically in the first phase, he sits in the middle of a sandpit with skeletons around it, and basically you need to avoid the skeletons and get close to him. The second phase is you chase him around a cylinder, and basically when you get to the top you knock him down to the floor. And so what we're going to do is there's actually a fast knockdown method, which hopefully I get, where basically rather than him flying up to the top of the cylinder, we're going to knock him down before he can even start. There's a specific timing based on it, but it'll save about 30 seconds, give or take. As I said, there is now a setup for it, which we thought was only TAS only, to skip this fight. So if you do have a spare second, I'd recommend checking it out because it is an absolutely insane trick. There's a lot of pixel perfect claw shotting and sliding, and yeah, more than I can comprehend. So hopefully we get clean three phases on this. The RNG can get a little bit out of hand, but the first 2 are normally okay. The third one's a bit hit and miss. So on this one I have to spring off another trooper. Not like that. find a trooper on the far side of him that I can kind of pinball off. I'll do. So that one's always a bit weird because you need the troopers to be in the right spot and then hit the right angle of them as they're coming back. So now basically Stallard's whole arena is going to rise up and we're going to chase him around the outside. Where am I? I'm over here. So as I said, there's a queue for this to get the fast knockdown. So basically, I'm going to do 5 rolls. I'm going to wait a small bit until there's an audio queue or a visual queue, and then if everything's right, Stallard will basically be next to me, and I can just knock him down in one cycle. Nice. Awesome. So basically, as you saw, Stallard tried to run away from me. If I miss it in that chance, he'll go around and you have to basically ride a gradually rising rail the whole way around. But thankfully we got that one there. And so I'm not going to take the heart container here. I'm going to get one later on after the Argrok fight and save this guy. But I'd say we're a solid 2/3 the way through the run now. Can I just get a run time? How far in we are?
Yep, so we are 2 hours and 6 minutes in.
Okay. With a good end game, we hit estimate. So we'll try for that.
Very nice. Did we have a sec for a quick donation?
Yeah, go for it. There's not much in this split.
Yep, so G's followed up and kept to their word. So we got a $10 donation from them saying, nice try, thanks a lot.
Thanks, G's.
And just a reminder to anyone coming in that we are AusSpeedruns, a group doing speedrun events to raise money for charity. For this event we're raising money for Game On Cancer, a charity which funds early career cancer researchers who are working across all areas of cancer research. If you'd like to donate, you can go to donate.ausspeedruns.com, and for those watching on Twitch, that will be in the chat momentarily.
So not too much special in this split. This is entering city in the sky. So what you'll see here is actually to warp. I'm going to have to open my map, zoom in, open portals, and then warp. Because what we're actually supposed to do there is to raise the chamber. So for the rest of the run, every time I go to warp, I'm going to have to zoom in first and then turn on the portals. That's just how we get around it. So I'm back in Kakariko now, and if you've ever played this game casually, when you first get the Dominion Rod from Temple of Time, you'll know that to get to City, you have to basically run around Hyrule. You got to move statues and basically find out all this extra stuff. We're actually just going to clip straight past the statue and skip all of that, and that way we can just go straight into City. So it's a fairly forgiving clip. Just run over here, turn the side on. That should be good. That is not. So basically, if you just stand at an angle and then when it transforms, straight through. And what we're going to do here is basically we're going to talk to Midna. We're actually going to say no, and then we're just going to warp it ourselves over to Lake Hylia, and we can skip these cutscenes. So yeah, I'd say a solid endgame being from just after Stallard to the end. If you can get anywhere around like a 102, somewhere around that, that's pretty decent. Sub 1 hour is very, very difficult. So hopefully if we play a bit well across across the last couple of splits we'll make it there in time. Don't want to talk to Plum there. Plum would like to fly down again. And now we need to get Fire to fix our cannon for us. So this is where we needed our 300 rupees for. He actually has 60 rupees lying around him. So basically, if you don't find it throughout the run, you can just go there for backups. We have a little building montage.
While watching that building montage, did we have time for one more donation?
Yeah, go for it.
Alright, perfect. We got $10 from Major Foley, who says, let's keep raising some more money.
Awesome. So now that we've got our cannon all built, we're able to claw shot up and go into City in the Sky. So City is a fairly difficult dungeon. There's a lot of precise claw shots and boomerang jumps across it. The first thing you're going to notice is that when I go into the first room, I'm going to transform into a wolf just to open a door. And the reason for that is that in the main room of City in the Sky, there's a giant fan in the top. And basically, if you get to the door as a human and open it, it will turn on the fan. But for some reason, the fan's actually off by default. So if we open the door from a distance as Wolfling, that fan will never turn on, and we can actually use it to skip a huge chunk of City. I'm gonna make a safety save before it, just because if there's ever an environment to mess it up, it'd be this one. So I will make a safety save in a second. It's about a 10-minute time loss, which I don't fancy getting. And we'll also be seeing a lot of Ukus throughout this run. Throughout this section. So when I pop out the water, I'm going to chuck on my equips, and I'm going to make a safety save just because I wouldn't be surprised if I just randomly do it. So a couple of boomerang jumps through here. Nothing super out of the ordinary. But this is the door I'm referring to up here. So I'm going to bait that one so I can go this way. So you can see here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to roll. And then stop about here should be good. So I should be able to open this door. Awesome. And I'll show you just for proof when I go in. So basically when you run in, this fan doesn't turn on. So we're going to use that to skip a huge chunk of City. And now we've got a bit of using the spinner just to activate the different bridges. And this bridge here actually has a cutscene associated with it, where Argarok, who's the main boss of the dungeon, will fly through and destroy the bridge. But we actually don't want the bridge to be destroyed. So what we're going to do is we're going to wait for a wind cycle and jump over the bridge on the way back. So I'll show you what I mean in just a sec. So we can run across it all fine. It's on the way back that we don't like it. And what we're going to get instead is we're going to get a small key in here. And basically, because we haven't destroyed the bridge, we actually spawn back at the small key rather than at the start of the level. So there's two options here. There'll either be a wind cycle when I walk out, or there'll be a late wind cycle. If there's a wind cycle when I walk out, I'm going to do a side hop up onto a wall. If there's no wind cycle, I'm going to grab a pea hat. So we'll see. Okay, there's no wind cycle, so I'm going to grab the pea hat to skip the Argarok cutscene. So it happens just on the other side of the bridge. What I'm going to do is I'm going to sit here, going to wait, and then just jump attack and hit the Argarok cutscene anyway. So we just gotta wait for this. It's a tiny time loss. It's not a huge deal. But basically the plan was there that when you release in the P-hat, you jump attack and you get pushed the whole way to the right, and Carrock never does this. But all that means is that basically I'm going to have to go back and do the fan door again. So it's not actually a huge time loss, it's a minor thing. So working our way through now to the other side of it. So what we want to go do is we want to go find the other claw shot. So you get double claw shots in this run, which basically means you attach onto one, you can then shoot from that one to another and kind of shoot around a little bit. And that's going to be really helpful later on in the run. So we just need to get this Dekiwaba off of my spinner. And just before this bridge is going to touch, I'm going to get off it and roll. And it's going to go the whole way back. Never mind. Small optimization's not working. There we go. That's better. And it does kind of mess with the camera a little bit, so that roll is always a little bit weird. I'm going to equip my Rang. So you're going to see me do a trick at the end of this split called Aralpha Skip, and what it is that basically the mini boss in this dungeon, I don't really have to fight him, he's got multiple phases and he flies around. It could be quite a pain. What we're going to do is there's actually a pixel perfect shot you can do. I don't trust that. There's a pixel perfect shot you can do, but obviously because it's pixel perfect you need like a consistent setup for it. So you're going to see me do some weird slashes, which will get me in just the right spot to hopefully get it. And we can just jump through the whole fight. Oh, there. Gonna spam A here and see if I can get a jump attack out this cutscene. Nope. And equip my boots on. So now we go into the Uku phase of this. So we're going to use the Ukus with the wind fans to basically jump through a bunch of rooms. And that'll get us to the Aralphus fight. So good movement here can actually be kind of difficult, especially in the next rooms. So not spending too much time in the air. But we can do a fast 2 jump here if I grab this one. That should work. Yeah, nice. And we can actually do a jump here, which normally people only do in Hundo, but you can do in any % if you have the hearts for it. And basically you just jump, and then jump attack. And that's just a faster way down. The only problem with that is it does lose you 2 hearts, so if you only have 3 heart containers all up, you're leaving yourself quite low for the next fight. I'm going to spam and see if I can put on my boots. Nope. So this is the Aralphus fight here. So basically, I missed the big ball. But when we drop down, I'm going to do 3 slashes and a stab. And then I'm going to turn around on the spot and try shoot at a single pixel. And if I get it, I should jump straight through to the claw shot chest. And I'm going to need more health. Don't knock me down. So you can go for it as many times as you want. It's just I don't want to die here. So as I said, pixel perfect can be quite annoying to try and hit, especially when you can hear that he's starting to attack you soon. But second try, I'll take it. And now what we're going to do is we're going to save warp, and we're going to end up at the start of the dungeon because I hit the Argrok cutscene. So we're going to go back, we're going to go through the fan door, and then we're going to go straight to the Argrok fight. So this splits a lot of claw shotting around the place. I'm going to need not my map, but I need these two. So just kind of going over my steps that I did the first time. And make sure not to hit the fan trigger. Let's go about there. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go basically, because the fan's not on, we're going straight up to the top. So normally you have to work your whole way around and turn that fan on, but because of that we can just go straight up here. So we've skipped a huge chunk of the dungeon already. If I stand here and turn around, there should be a shot. A fairly specific shot. There you go. And then a boomerang jump. That should work. The laggiest door in all the game for some reason. And now we've already got the boss key, so we can actually go straight over towards Argrok. Because we've actually never turned on any of the fans, there's a lot of just precise still shooting. That's kind of the way I'd explain it. So you'll see what I mean when I go outside here. Just take all the damage. So these fans outside are actually not turned on, but if you shoot from a higher angle, so from above it, downwards onto it, you'll actually grab the ledge at the top. And then you can do what's my favorite LJ in the run. So I'll show you what I mean. So if you aim just downwards to about there, you can actually just ledge grab over them, and you have no need to ever turn them on. And then this is my favorite LJ in the game, personally. Nice. So now we go into the fan tower, which are on a cycle. So it's basically just a bunch of quick shooting between the different fans, and then we'll be up at the Argrok fight. So what I'm going to do is basically I'm going to shoot over to this first fan, jump off it, run around, and grab the next side. So that's about good there. Run to here. Grab this one. Nice. So that's kind of the perfect cycle. That's what you're looking for. And then one final claw shot. And drop down. And we're over to the vines that Argrok is on. So the Argrok fight, when you watch it, it looks like we're not actually doing much, but we're actually manipulating it quite a bit. So if you've ever played it casually, you'll know that Argrok basically just shoots flames at you while you kind of circle around him on the P-hats, and then when he stops breathing fire, you get onto its back and sorry, one sec. That shouldn't be dead pixel. No, it's not. Cool. There's one pixel that if you hit, you just fall on every vine. But basically, it looks like we're not doing much in this run. Sorry, in this fight. But basically, when Argrok is shooting flames, if you change your height drastically down to a certain height, it'll actually just stop doing its flames, so we can actually manipulate the cycles really, really quickly. So I'll show you what I mean just after these quick two. I missed the first one. There's two quick ones here. So actually at the start there, if you play this casually, you'll know that Aragorn normally swoops in and like scrapes his paws along the whole area. If you actually stand on the outside perimeter, he just flies over and he just skips that part of the fight. So what we're going to do here is now he's going to start flying around, and we're going to need to climb to the top of the towers. I'm actually going to throw myself off the edge to start this fight, because it just makes the cycles quicker. The first cycle quicker, sorry. So yeah, basically what's going to happen is I'm going to climb to the top of the tower. When Aragorn screams, I'm going to claw shot up to a P-hat and immediately put on my iron boots. And basically if I go down low enough, Aragorn will stop breathing fire and I can basically cut his cycle off really, really early. So you'll see me do that 3 times. The first 2 will be the same, and then the third one will be slightly different. So unequip my boots, I'm going to throw myself off here. Just saves time. It starts the first cycle earlier or something. So if we get 2 precise claw shots up here, that one should do. Also, so when Aragorn screams, I'm going to shoot. Boots on. Wait for the fire, drop down, and the cycle's off. So now I can basically go along another 3 P-hats along, and we have finished the cycle. Rather than flying around it for so long. You have to be fairly quick with these getting up the tower. It's not overly patient for you. Slightly differently, and because what Aragorn does is he shoots flames, turns around and shoots flames again, I'm going to manipulate the second part of that. So I'll show you what that means. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go 4. So we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, and when his flames pass this third one, I'm going to put on my boots. And now, when he starts breathing fire again, I'm going to unequip my boots. And now I'm able to get him straight away. And that's the fight. Have like a minute break now. Grab water. So as I said, if you haven't seen it before, it may look like we're not actually doing much in that fight, but you're actually manipulating the flame cycles to make it a lot quicker, like multiple minutes quicker. So this is now the effective final mirror shard. So now we can go to Palace of Twilight, which is arguably one of the hardest dungeons. Yeah, it's quite Palace of Time Lost. It is very, very difficult. So we'll grab this heart container because we're going to have to jump off of City in the Sky, and it's going to lose us a couple of hearts. So we don't want to go into Palace low health. So a bit of tech smashing, and then we're going to go and get back in the cannon. I can actually do a side hop here, which should get me on the heart container. And then back to the start. So I do have an extra heart than I normally do. Just I didn't want to die in Palace. It didn't seem worth it. So we've got 3 different kind of splits in Palace, and then we're going to Hyrule, and then that'll be the run. So I'd say about 40 minutes as a ballpark. Have to put on boots here, because on the other side of this we have 4-frame window to do a B attack, and this will stop us from landing in the water, and instead we'll land on the bridge. Yep. And zoom in, and we're off to Palace. So we chuck our boots on there, and that's also why we get the health, because it's just quicker to land on the bridge than in the water. But obviously you take I think it's 2 hearts of damage. So we're going to do a lot of the first part of Palace as Wolflink. Wolflink's charge attacks are really, really helpful when it comes to fighting the Zant heads. So we're going to have to do the West Wing, and then we're going to do the East Wing, and then there's the whole Light Sword segment. So basically within each side of the palace, there's going to be a Phantom Zant fight. And basically Zant will spawn in a random part of the room, and you have to get to him before he starts spawning his enemies. The first one's fairly forgiving, the second one's a bit tighter. But with good enough kind of RNG and placement, we should hopefully be okay with it. So the first few rooms are fairly self-explanatory. If we're dashing and we lock on and we press B, we actually get 2 hits off, which just leaves it up to 1 charge attack to kill it. So you have to be locked on there. It's just a 2-in-1, makes it a bit better. Nope, wrong room. So the second part of Palace is very, very difficult. So this starting part's kind of okay. So what we're trying to do there is, the reason I delayed my second attack is because I basically want to get to this chest, or as close to this chest as I can, so that way when I come out of this cutscene, it's easier to open. So if you do it really well, you can actually just spam A, and you'll get the cutscene straight away. But I was a little bit too far. So side hop into the chest, hammer up, and this is our first Phantom Zant fight. So in a casual playthrough, if you actually let this cutscene play, more enemies will spawn. But for some reason, if you skip the cutscene, the enemies just don't appear. So normally he throws a bunch of like Twilight bugs at you. But because I skipped that cutscene, they just don't exist. Or sorry, the next cutscene. But I have to focus on the audio cue to see where he spawns. Good spawn. So go there. 1. Let him go away. And 1 more. Where'd he go? Oh, hello. I should still be able to kill him. There we go. So that's a perfect cycle there. You basically go a slash with 2 spins twice, and then a slash with 3 spins. And now we just need to guide the Sol through this half. So I'm going to do this thing when I'm claw-shotting the Sol called L slides. And basically, when you're claw-shotting it and the claw shot is retracting, if you hold L in a direction correctly, you'll actually start sliding in that direction. So you see what I mean here? When I shoot this, I'm already sliding back towards the door. So we're actually going to use that in the next room. And basically, the way the enemies spawn if you're holding the Sol and you walk past a certain point. But what we're doing is, because we're L sliding, I'm going to slide past that point before I have the ball in my hands. So the enemies aren't going to spawn. That's a bit left. I did not expect that to work. So I'm doing this here. So basically, when I get up here, so there's normally a couple of bugs there that'll spawn in, but because I was past that point, the bugs never play a role. We're going to like my only little bit of downtime for a little bit if there's anything. If not, there's no stress on the admin end. I'm gonna say we're all good. So what I've done now is that we've brought, since we brought one to the front, we have to go and get the other one, and then that way we will have the light sword. So light sword will kill anything that is Twilight in a single hit. So it makes it a lot easier for the second section. So boomerang jump. So this room here is notorious for just being a bit of a pain. What happens is there's 4 platforms on the other side of the room. Zan can spawn between any of them. And if you don't get him in one cycle, it can start getting a bit messy with RNG. So hopefully I make the cycle. So I'm gonna wait a sec, and now I'll go. That works for me. Didn't fall off the edge. So he can spawn between any platforms. There's no rhyme or reason behind it. I'm lost as to where I am. I shouldn't have gone for that. Yeah, that was bad. So I've just got to run back. If you see there, I see up when I'm transforming. So if Midna's on your back and you actually see up before transforming, it saves like a few frames. So like across the run, that's a small amount of time. So in this next room, we're basically going to have 3 Shadow Beasts, a single Zand head, and then 3 Zand heads. And what we want to do is we want to basically use the different Zand heads to get double attacks on all of them. So basically, I'll show you what I mean. So I'll get this one, that's fine. So here, for each of these, we're going to get 2 attacks. And then this last one, we'll just finish off with a double. And if I'm quick, yeah, got the claw shot off. So now our next room will be the second Phantom Zand. So what you'll see is that he actually doesn't give you as much time. I thought that would work. There we go. He won't give you as much time to actually get over to him. So the cycles are a lot tighter. So this dungeon has like 3 sections. So you've got your first section, which is getting the light sword. The second section is getting to the Zant fight, and then the third section will actually be the Zant fight itself. So it's a fairly long section. That's an early pause, with a lot of different bits in it. So on my right. I missed the last swing attack. Oh wait, he's just going to spawn there. That's okay. If you hit him basically with a full combo, he'll start just spawning in between every spot, but because I effectively did on the 3rd cycle what I've been doing on the other 2, he just went along. That's actually not that bad. So this on the way back, in my opinion, is actually easier than the first section on the way back. When you actually learn where the souls need to go in reference to the room, it's actually not too bad. Because in this next room, what you'll see is that when we walk in, you actually just walk straight the whole way through it, which makes it a lot easier. But enter Zant, that the section going between Light Sword and getting to the Zant fight can be quite confusing. So what I'm going to do here is basically I'm going to get to this first square. When I get there, just press A, and that'll just land exactly where you need it to. Oh yeah, the Shadow Beast can kind of kick the ball around, so just gotta be wary of that. And this on the way back takes a second to get used to, but it's not actually that bad when you get a hand on it. You can basically jump between the first one and then you can get the other three in one go. I nearly missed that. And we can just do them around the key surround if you want to take him for a spin. This actually wasn't a bad first stage of Palace. So I'm gonna mash A here and then if I can get a 1 frame. Nope. You can basically get a ball throw off there, so you can just roll. And now we will get the Light Sword. Cool. So this section now can be quite difficult. There's a lot crammed into a very short space of time. Oh, I nearly just ran off the edge. I went forward and I went to press A to roll and I nearly just dropped off the ledge. But there's going to be a room coming up which is all based on different cycles. And in this room I'm actually going to call Midna and it manipulates the cycle a bit. It'll definitely make more sense when I get there. I'm just going to try and get through this. So we need to just do 2 quick throws. That's close enough. That's also close enough. Grab that for just safekeeping. And we can actually do an LJ across here. So it's quite a hectic few rooms. Lots of Zant heads going around the place. Yeah, a lot of things based on cycles. So there'll be 2 actual areas that are based on cycles. So you'll have the inside area and you'll have the outside area. So what you want to do is that basically the Zant heads spawn like consistently apart from each other. So what you want to do is you want to make sure that you can do a certain amount of things before you get the Zant head. And obviously, if you're slow to them, then you get pushed back a cycle and you lose time. So what I'm going to do here is basically there is like a Twilight curtain to my right. I'm going to do a spin attack to clear it and then do a fairly precise claw shot up there. Just over here. I have lost it because of the Twilight. Oh. There it is. So this is actually the boss key that we need for later on, which I've I see a lot of people run past because it's in a bit of a weird location for it. But now what we need to get actually is there is a Zant head across on like another island. So we need to go over to him just to tick him off. There's an LJA you can do here to jump over to that platform quicker. I don't know it. It only saves like a second or two, and if you mess it up, you have to ride this elevator the whole way again. So I've just never bothered to learn it. So basically there, the reason I hung off the ledge for a second was in a similar way to the Twilight bugs. When a Zant head makes a noise, it's like, it's dead. Oh, I missed that first one. Might be standing on that. So this room that I'm going into now is the one that I was talking about with the Midna cycles. So basically, you can make it without a Midna call, but if you call Midna, you lose half a second, and it makes the cycles so much comfier. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to roll over here, and as the barricade drops in, I'm going to call Midna, and then just not talk to her. I'll show you what I mean here. So roll over, barricade in, just call her up, and then just put her away. And what's that going to do is, now when I get to the cycle, as long as I don't screw up the rest of the movement, it's going to be really, really comfy to get. So we can wait for that. There's an elevator there, but we just don't know it yet. So basically, once this cycles to this platform, we'll be coming back there when I get over there. So that's kind of the cycle we're working with. Cool. And we'll see where this one spawns. Awesome. So that's basically this past section's been a lot of the Enter Zant stuff done. We got one final room where basically we fight a couple of shadow beasts, but because they all die in one hit, it's actually really not much of an issue. We mostly use this part to just gather up our hearts for the Zant fight, because they all just go down in one slash anyway. Then we get into the Zant fight, and the Zant fight is a bit of a cluster. Swung a bit early. Awesome. So back to full health. And now we're going to go into Zant. So basically, Zant is like a boss rush. So as I said, there is an Ook phase from the Forest Temple. We've got a Blizzetta phase from Snow Peak, and so on and so forth. He doesn't tick off all the boxes, but he ticks off a couple of them. And basically, each one of them has their own kind of manipulation. So on the Ook phase, I'm basically going to just... He'll only go over to the next phase if you hit him with a combo. So rather than having to hit him with all 4 swings, I want to just hit him on the 4th one. So hopefully you'll see what I mean here. But basically I'm going to preemptively swing 3 times and hope that the 4th one is what hits him. But this is my favorite, like one of my favorite boss fights. I think it's really creative. So I'm gonna throw a boomerang before he's actually there. In the Ook phase. So we'll just go up. That'll do. So I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4. And how long it takes him to come back is RNG. So the fact that it was a 4 and a 3-4, that's fine. There's a 2-frame window on this cycle. I'm sorry, in this stage to get him in a 1 cycle. I got it. Okay, cool. Awesome. Yeah, you basically charge up a B attack but cancel a bit earlier. I don't know the technicalities of it. But now we're into the more fill phase. So, again, we got to use our water bombs to make sure we don't drown. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to kill him with the fastest combo. And then pull a water bomb and go and refill my oxygen. So pull him over. I'm going to do our fastest combo. So right, left, up, down. Pull bomb. Pull out a bomb, override the water, override my boots, and let go. And now we can wander around. So you need to do that twice in this phase. So if you watch my my wheel in the top right, so I'm gonna pull a bomb, and while Link is still like fumbling in his pocket, I'm gonna override the iron boots, and then throw it. And that's basically how we manipulate our water bombs into refilling our oxygen. So that phase there took a while to learn, just understanding kind of how water bombs work. So this is the Ook phase here, so what we want to do is we want to override our iron boots so we can run. And we're going to bump him off the second pillar. Jump attack, and then a combo. And if we ball and chain the pillar. Awesome. So this is actually a boss fight that we didn't see in this run, and it's the entire reason we need ball and chain in the first place. So this is the Zelda phase. And so Zanko's massive, and basically we need to just hit his foot with a ball and chain. And this phase here is why we have to do Snow Peak. So if we ever found a way to hit him otherwise, we would never need to go to Snow Peak. And now we've got the courtyard, which is the final phase. So what I'm going to do is, again, make sure that I only hit him with the 4th hit. So it's going to be 3 stabs, and then the 4th one will hit him. So it should only take kind of 4 cycles, if I get it all correctly. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then spin attack, and then 1, 2, 3. Didn't quite get him. That's alright, we'll get him for that one. And that is the Zam fight complete. So now basically we're off to Hyrule, and that is our final point. Actually, I was wrong before when I said we don't have any more downtime. We have a 2-minute cutscene coming up that I can't skip. So now we're going to warp over to Castle Town. And basically when we're on the bridge, there's another mailman skip to do. Just so we don't have to talk to him. And then we're going to roll over to the entrance to Hyrule Castle. And then there's a massive cutscene, the Squidna cutscene. So transform to wolf just because it's a little bit quicker. And again, when I'm warping here, I'm gonna have to zoom in. If you actually do Stallard skip in your runs, you don't need to zoom in because fighting Stallard is what messes up your warping. So just zoom in, portal, zoom out, and over to Castle Town. So in Hyrule Castle, sorry, there's kind of 3 sections. So you've got just clearing out Hyrule Castle. We're gonna have a Puppet Zelda fight, and then we're gonna have a Ganon fight. So the lovely thing about the Puppet Zelda fight is that it is entirely RNG based, and you can't really do anything to save time. But hope. So that's skipping the mailman there. So basically, Ganon in the storyline, sorry, he will control Zelda, and basically there's a minimum of 7 cycles, and basically we want her to attack on certain cycles. and hope that the RNG lines up. It can be quite decisive when it comes to runs. There's also a unnecessary bonk here that still gets the loading zone. Yeah, we got a minute and a half or something to wait here now. But yeah, Puppet Zelda, basically, she can either attack you with her sword, she can shoot like electric ball things at you, or she can shoot Triforces at you. And basically, we want her to shoot us with an electric ball on the 1st, the 3rd, and the 7th. And basically, that is perfect RNG. But in between each section, the length of time is also RNG. So we'll wait here for a second. I'll grab a drink.
And while he does that, we have some prizes that you can win for donating during this event. If you donate at least $10, you'll be eligible to win one of 8 Landfall game bundles comprising 3 of their greatest hits: Cluster Truck, Totally Accurate Battle Simulator, and Nightfall. And for those within Australia, if you donate $20 or more, you'll go in the running to win a pair of HyperX Cloud earbuds. And if you donate $40 or more, you'll also be in the running to win 1 of 2 HyperX Cloud 2 gaming headsets. For more information, you can visit prizes.ausspeedruns.com. And of course, we thank Landfall and our major sponsor HyperX for providing these wonderful prizes.
I think I may be going into that giveaway for $40 with the amount of bonks I've done in this run. I think I may be in there.
Yeah, and they're nice headphones too.
Yeah. So what we're going to do here is basically there's a couple of different barriers throughout Hyrule that we're going to skip in different ways. We've also got another King Boblin fight coming up, which is everyone's favourite. So we're going to skip through 3 different barriers in different ways, but the first one is definitely my favourite. So just here I'm going to equip my bombs and my boots. And so the first barrier here will be on the left hand side. We actually don't touch a lot of Hyrule. We kind of just run straight through it. But this first one takes a while to learn. You basically run up to it. And you pull your bomb. Awesome. I don't know who found that, but yeah, my favorite barrier in the run. So we're gonna roll straight past this one over to King Boblin, and that'll be our final time seeing King Boblin in the run. So there is 4 King Boblin fights, but we actually only do 2 of them. And actually the first King Boblin fight, I should explain this at the time, but when we do back in time and there's that cutscene that we skip, that's actually from King Boblin. So basically the reason we get those boss flags in the run is because it says in the code, okay, you're fighting a boss, you're fighting King Boblin, but then we just reset anyway. Wait for him to do a swing. So if he actually hits you with one of those swings, unless you're on very, very high health, it will take you out in one hit. It does an insane amount of damage. So when he's finished talking here, I'm going to be mashing a backflip because there's a 1 frame window where I can hit a backflip and then save warp, and it'll save me about 4 seconds. So just gotta get my hand. Didn't get it. So basically, if you backflip there mid-air before Midna talks to you, you can save warp, and you'll end up back in the main castle ground. So instead we'll just run back through. Make sure not to accidentally run into the fight. So basically when we go through the castle, we're going to fight something that we've actually skipped all before. It's actually the mini-boss in Temple of Time, called the Dark Nut. That's a ball. So basically, yeah, there's going to be a thing called the Dark Nut, and what that is it's a massive suited armor knight, and basically when you knock all the armor off of it, it's like a small, more nimble soldier. I don't think soldier is the right word, but yeah. So put on our boots to just fall a bit quicker. And here we want ball and chain and boomerang. So basically what's going to happen is I'm going to hit him with a few slashes, and he's then going to block, I'll hit him with a few more slashes, and then I'm actually going to take him out with a ball and chain. So 1, 2, 3, 4, he's going to block. And now his suit of armor's off, he's going to throw that at me. And now he's back. 1, 2, 1, 2. So that's basically the most optimal way you can fight him. If you're doing a 100% run, you can actually jump over this fight using a trick. But for any percent, that is the fastest way we can do that fight. So for here, we're going to need some bombs and lanterns. So this is what I was saying earlier in the run, that having our bombs lets us kind of do different optimizations. So basically, like there, for example, if I had no bombs, I wouldn't be able to blow up the enemies in the courtyard. So I'm going to bring these guys over here, put them into a corner. That's the doors that way. And so we kind of got one last mini boss before we get to the Puppet and Ganon fight. So what we do here is, this is the Aralphus fight that I skipped over. But if we pull it close, we can actually just clean it out with ball and chain. So that is the fight I skipped in City in the Sky, the pixel perfect fight. We're going to have a cutscene coming up here for about 40 odd seconds. Because we actually skip a huge chunk of the storyline, we never meet a lot of the characters that pop up here. So there's going to be a cutscene coming up where people who you've met throughout the run are going to come along and like save you. But I think we've only actually met one of the people there. So it's just a bunch of strangers walking up. So as I said, we're going to have, after this, we're going to have Puppet Zelda. We're going to have Ganon. So Ganon actually is a 2-part fight. Well, a 3-part fight, technically. So we're going to fight Beast Ganon, we're going to fight Horseback Ganon, and then we're going to fight him like with swords. Yeah, so I believe we've only met one of these people so far, the guy in the middle with the rocket launcher. So in the first room I'm going to go into here, after getting the boss key. There's a bunch of ghost rats again, which are quite annoying, but we avoid them throughout this entire run. But basically what happens is there's a bunch of like fallen soldiers who, if you use your wolf senses, you can see what platforms you should stand on, which you shouldn't. But because we know where to go, we can actually just bypass all of that. So we can actually just roll right and just keep rolling. I meant to hit the 2 of you. There, close enough. So also what I can do here is I can actually skip the first torch. Just go straight for the second one. Come at them from an angle here. We can actually... I didn't get the 2 of them. We'll use an glow, and pull the spinner. So here basically these spinners are on a cycle. So we're trying to jump between them. And there's another Dark Knot Fly here, but conveniently, if we actually just stop about here, and we can just claw shot straight past it. Awesome. And now we're basically coming into the end. We've got a Puppet Zelda fight, and we've got a Ganon fight. I'm trying to do the maths because I'm looking at the timer there. I think if we get perfect RNG, I may hit estimate bang on time. So as I said, there's not a whole lot I can do in this fight. I kind of just got to wait and see what Puppet Zelda gives me. We can wander around and fill up our hearts. But we're hoping for this to be an electric ball, which it is. So that's good for us. Just send that back. And then this is guaranteed to be an attack on the next one. And then we're hoping for an electric ball afterwards. So this is a Triforce. Down just to prevent lag. Okay, not getting perfect RNG. So now we're gonna get at least an 8 cycle. That is 4. Yeah, not a whole lot you can do in this. In a casual playthrough, you basically can get Shield Bash, which is one of the tricks you learned from the Wolf, and you basically play tennis back and forth with Zelda with the electric balls. That's a Triforce. I think this is 7, if I'm not mistaken. That's 8. I think the worst I've ever gotten is like a 14, I want to say. That's 9. I think that's a 10, unless I've miscounted, but yeah, that's alright. So what I've got now is we've got the Beast Ganon section. So I'm going to do certain amounts of damage to him in each phase, and that will actually start the third part of it quicker. So I'll explain it as I go along. But if I side hop at the start here, and then ball and chain. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go jump attack, 4 individual slashes, and then a combo. And basically I'm going to do that one more time, and what's going to happen then is on the third cycle, Ganon's going to pick one portal, and that's the one he'll come out of, so it speeds up the final cycle. Do that nice and early. So 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So I'm going to go to Wolfling for this. So normally Ganon chooses a bunch of different portals. They shoot around the room and he comes out of one. Because of the damage I've done, he's going to come out of one, and it'll be the only one he spawns. There he is. And then we can just throw him to the floor. And then if we do a dash attack, we're all good. So that's the first part of the Ganon fight done. The next one will be our horseback fight. So there's a bit of RNG in that Ganon's pathing can differ. I think he has like 4 different paths he can take. But Zelda will sit on the back of your horse and shoot arrows towards Ganon, which everyone blames as RNG when it actually isn't. So basically, the way your analog stick is facing has an impact on where Zelda's arrows go. So I'll show you what I mean here. So we'll see how he paths. Alright, we're going off this way. So So as long as I'm holding in this direction, they should hit. So I need to do that 3 times. And we're going to come in at 310. Awesome. So just a little fun fact here. If you play in German, you actually don't need to skip these text boxes. You can actually complete the game with the text box on. For some reason, so I don't actually need to press any buttons right now. But yeah, now we just go into the sword fight, and time will be when his face pops up on screen, basically. So yeah, for some reason on the PAL version, like, I'm just hands in the air. It'll just keep doing this without the text box. So what we're going to do here is going to do 3 hits and insta-spins. So 1, 2, 3. Iron boots for good luck. And that is time. 3:10:33. I'll take that. Given how early game went, I'll definitely take that.
Yeah, that was really impressive and dead on estimate as well.
I'm happy with that. Awesome. Yeah, no, thanks for having me. That was a good run. I'm happy with that. If you've never seen Twilight Princess before, there's a bunch of active runners doing it 80%, all dungeons, 100%. Yeah, it's really, I feel like it's a little bit of an overlooked Zelda game, but no, really good community around it, and it's a lot of fun to get into. Yeah.
Awesome. And before we start our next run, we are going to quickly restart the stream. So when it cuts out just shortly, don't go anywhere because we'll be back.